In this video, you're going to learn how to build your own AI chat app using Django, React, and GPT-4. So on my screen here, I have an AI chat app called Promptify. So Promptify is a name I gave the chat application. You get so it was built with Django on the back end, React on the front end, and our AI model is coming from OpenAI's GPT-4. So without much ado, without further ado, I would love to give you a brief overview of this chat application. So on the sidebar, we have our recent chats. We have the chats from yesterday. We have chats from the last 7 days. So I can check out the chats if I want to just by clicking on them. I'm going to see my previous chats from the previous days. So I have my chats from today. I can check them out, right? So right now it's time for us to create a new chat. So we've got the new chat button up here. Click on it. So I'm going to ask the AI, how do I go about learning React.js? So let's see what's going to give us as a response. So it's enter. So we're going to get our response in a moment. Okay, so we've got some response from the AI model on how to go about learning React.js. So I could ask it to give me some code snippets, give me some React code snippets. So let's see, it's enter. So right now we've gotten a response from the AI model, right? So it has given us some React code snippets. So this is amazing. This is fascinating, right? So thanks to OpenAI for their GPT-4 model. So we also have the light and dark mode on the application. So let's see how it looks like. It still looks cool. It still looks cool, but I think I prefer the dark mode. I think I prefer the dark mode feature, right? So let's switch back to it. So back we're on the dark mode now. So we have our see one side. Okay, let's see. Okay, back to the chat app. So now you can see now we've got the new. We can see we've got our new prompts here. We've got it over here. So we've got our existing prompts from the previous days. So it's going to be an exciting time here. So without further ado, let's get started with this tutorial. So see you inside. So let's go. Okay, so right now it's time for us to get started. So we're gonna start with the front end. So right now I'm gonna let's open the CMD, my command prompt. So if you're on a Mac, you're gonna get to your terminal. So currently I'm on Windows. Let's head over to the command prompt and then create our React project. You understand? So let's wait for it to come up. So CMD is up now. So I'm gonna go into my folder, into my React folder. So I'm gonna go into documents. Right, so let me make this a bit bigger. See the document. I'm going to go into the React folder, which is called React underscore project. So I create all my React projects in this folder. So right now our application is called Promptify. So right now I'm going to create our React application. I'm going to say npm create vit. So before you can use npm, you must make sure you have Node installed on your computer. So I'm going to say npm create vit. So it's going to take some time. So let's wait for it. So right now it's asking for the project name. So I'm going to call it Promptify underscore app. So it enters. So I'm going to go with React. Then let's say TypeScript. And then I'm going to say cd into Promptify underscore app. And then we're going to install all the dependencies needed for this application to run. They're going to say npm install. So npm install. So let's wait for it to install all the React dependencies for this project. So it's going to take quite some time, but we are going to wait for it. So right now we are done with the installation of the requirements. So it's done installing the requirements. So right now I'm going to open this folder with the VS Code. I'm going to say code, then dots, and this gets opened with VS Code, and then we can proceed with our setup. So it's coming up. Yep, so we've got this here. So right now let's run the server. This is too big. Let me reduce the size here. So let's run the server. So yes, I chose the authors. Always click on yes to choose the authors. So right now I love going with command prompts. So now I'm gonna say npm run dev. So let's run our React server to see what it looks like. So yep, so right now here's our local host. Hold down Control and click on this link to the browser. It should come up. Okay, perfect. Now, so we've got our React landing page running. So what's next? Let's convert this page to our Promptify front end page. So let's do that right away. Okay, guys. So right now, let's convert this page to look like this. You understand? So let's work on that right away. So back here, so we're going to come over to our project and we're going to clean. We are going to clean it up. There are some files you don't need. Over to the source folder. But I don't need the app.css. I'm going to delete that. Delete. As for the app.txs file, I don't need the contents. Control A. I don't need what was there. RAFCE. I'm going to start afresh. So right now, this is a React snippet. So it enables you create component faster. So I'll come over here and just say hello world, right? So as for the index of CSS, I don't need these styles. So I could just come over here, Control A, and then clear it up. So yeah, so it's all gone. So yeah, right now I have the files I only need. Right, so let's delete that import. So right now back here, let's go install Tailwind. So we only have hello world. Perfect. So Tailwind CSS will need you. Let's get Tailwind on board. So right now click on the docs up here and then click on, yeah, currently we are on Vite. So right now we already have the React project created. So what you need to run is this npm install tailwind css at tailwind/vite. Copy, and then over here I'm going to create a new command prompt, and then I'll paste the command here and hit enter. So we're going to have Tailwind configured, and while it is getting configured, we have to add these two lines. Copy this, the second one, back to your code, over to now the file is called vite.config.tx. vite.config.ts. I have to add this import, right? And then we also have to add this Tailwind CSS into the plugins square brackets, right? Yeah, over here I'm gonna say comma, and then over to what was it called? Over to our index.css file, over to your index.css file. This file, these are root style sheets. If you come over here, you can see the file here. It is the root style sheet. So I'm going to add that import Tailwind CSS, and I think yeah, this is what we need to do. So now I already have Tailwind configured. Now what next? We also need Shadcn. Shadcn, over to Shadcn. I'm going to say Shadcn UI. This is important because you're going to need, because these components you see here are all from Shadcn. So you're going to need some Shadcn, you get. So onto Shadcn. I love this library. So right now we are going to install Shadcn. Click on docs, then choose Vite, and then we already have this done. Already have, this is for creating a React project. This is for installing Tailwind. Right now, to configure Shadcn, we have to make some changes in our files. So over to our tsconfig.json, we have to add this. Just copy this and head over to your tsconfig.json. tsconfig.json. Ouch, my file is not tsconfig. I don't have what I'm looking. Okay, I think I'm correct. Copy this. Just under the square parenthesis, the square brackets, under it add a comma and then paste. So that should be it. And here, let's over to the tsconfig.app.json. We have to also add this tsconfig.app.json. Let's make this smaller. I'm trying to find the best place to put this. Okay, let's try it here. Doesn't cause any problem. I think I copied wrongly. Correct, yeah, this. It is going to be inside of compiler options. I'm trying to avoid making a mistake. Let's put it here. And then comma. Yep. Added it just there. Yeah, I hope I'm correct. Yeah, okay now. So right now we have to run this command npm install d at type slash node. So we have to just do some stuff here to make everything work. So before we run the command, before I hit enter, I'm gonna add all this imports. So over to our vits.config.cs, we have to import path and import tailwind and import tailwind css. That the first two lines vit.config.cs. So okay, we already have tailwind imported. So now I think we only have to import paths. So the first line. And after that's done, we also need to add these plugins. Just copy. We already have the plugins there. Okay, let's add the resolve. We already have plugins there. So let's just add resolve. Hope there are no errors. I think before I add this, let's run this command. Hit enter. Let's run the command. Okay, back here, the command is done. So I'm gonna uncomment this. Yeah, so the red line is gone. And I think it should work now. We have parts. Okay, perfect. I think it's good now. And right now, we're not done. Now let's run this last command. npx shadcn at latest init. So copy this. Hope my screen is not dark. Okay, it's bright enough. npx shadcn at latest init. So just here, enter. So right now I think it's time for us to install Shadcn proper. You get, so let's wait for it and I hope everything goes well. So right now it's asking us to pick a base color. So I always recommend you go with zinc because zinc is much more versatile. Zinc is more modern and it is also much more versatile. Very, very versatile, you get. So use your arrow keys and then pick zinc. So now it's installing right now. The dependencies are getting installed. So let's go. Let's see how it's going. Let's wait for it. Okay, it's currently says success project initialization completed. So we have successfully installed Shadcn into our React project. So right now it's time for us to start building the application. Okay, guys. Now that we've already have Shadcn installed, we're going to start adding some components instead. So for example, we want to add the sidebar. This sidebar you see here is from Shadcn. Let's go add it right away. So over to Shadcn now, click on component on top, and then we're going to click on find side. Here is sidebar. Here are your sidebar. um yeah, here is the sidebar here. So you can see what it looks like here. Shadcn. So right, let's go install. Let's add the sidebar to our code. So you have to install this. You have to run this command, right? So we already have this in the index.css. We already have this stylings in our index.css. Let me show you. Back to the index.css. This comes with Shadcn. It came through Shadcn, right? So these are Shadcn based colors, right? So we already have this. So right now it's showing all the structure of a sidebar. So right here, what we see here, we have this rectangle. The entire rectangle is called a sidebar. So in the rectangle, we have the sidebar header, And instead of the rectangle itself, we also have the sidebar contents. You can see we have the sidebar content, the green space, the green box. And inside of the sidebar contents, we have the sidebar groups. We have two groups inside the sidebar content. And below the side, on at the bottom of the sidebar, we have the sidebar footer. You can see. So here is how the sidebar looks like. It consists of the header, the blue part. It consists of the sidebar contents, the green parts, and the sidebar contents consist of sidebar groups, which is this brown part. And here we have the sidebar footer. So that's how the sidebar is structured, right? So right now, back here, we have to add this command. Paste and hit enter. npx Shadcn at latest add sidebar. So that's that. And then we have to ignore this because we already have this in our index.css. And over here, I just explained the structure to you guys. So here is how the sidebar works. This is how it works. But before we proceed, so now we have to just follow this same approach they used, right? But you can see we have this components called app sidebar. Let's go create this components called app sidebar. So currently the sidebar has been added. The sidebar has been added successfully. Awesome. So over to the components folder in our code. The components folder comes with Shadcn. So now I'm going to add a new folder inside of components. Remember, I can see now we have components, and then instead of components, we have the UI folder. But right now, I want to add a new components inside of component, not UI. The UI folder contains Shadcn specific components. You understand? So right now, I'm going to add a new file. And I'll call this file app sidebar. I'm trying to follow Shadcn approach of creating a sidebar, app sidebar.cxx. So here is it now. As you can see, it is outside of the UI folder. This UI folder contains Shadcn specific components. So right now I have the app sidebar, which is a custom component you get. So I'm going to close some of these guys to just make this look clean. So we have our app sidebar now. So here's the contents of the app sidebar. You can see the contents here. I'll just copy this. Now paste it here. Right. So it has a sidebar, which is the rectangle, the entire rectangle. Then we have the header, we have the sidebar contents, and then the groups. We have the sidebar groups inside of the sidebar contents, and then we have our sidebar footer. I already showed you the illustration over here, right? So now we've got that now. So right now here's the updated. So okay, before we proceed, so okay, a minute. So right now we're going to create a layout for our React. Right now we're going to create a layout for the React project. We're going to create a layout like this, right? For our React project, we're going to call it main layout or whatever layouts. We can call it whatever name you like. Yep. So I'm just trying to be sure I'm not making any mistake. Right. Right now, let's create a layout for our project now. I'm going to create a new file called main layouts. Main layouts.cxs. So this is going to be our application wrapper. It's going to be like the parent elements that's going to wrap our entire application. We're going to say main layer.cxs. I'm going to say ref then ce. So from what we have here, we're going to have this in our main layouts. We're going to have this. Copy. So Shadcn they are using Next.js approach. But currently we are currently working with React, so we can't use Next.js approach. So these children is going to be removed from here. So to import right now, let's import the sidebar provider. Click on it and hold down Control and period. Let's import it. So remember, we already have a component called app sidebar, which is what I have here. So just hold down Control and period to import it. And the sidebar trigger, this is a trigger. The trigger is what opens and closes the sidebar. I'm going to show that to you. So all this comes from Shadcn, so you don't, except from this guy that we created by ourselves. So hold down this control and period to import the sidebar trigger. As for the children, this is going to be, we are going to change that now. So right now, over here, I'm going to say let's import React DOM. I'm going to say npm install React router DOM. So because we need to get a component from React router, which is called outlets. It's called outlets. So over here, we just come over here and just say outlets. It's from React router DOM. So we already have React router installed now. So click on this and hold down control and period. So outlet is equivalent to children in Next.js. See if you know Next.js. Understand? So don't worry. Shadcn. Okay, now we've got our main layout. So this is going to be our, so this right now, this layout now is going to be the wrapper for the other pages we are going to have on this application. So this outlet represents the other pages that's going to come in, the other pages, right? So we've got this now ready. We've got this looking good. But as for the app sidebar, the contents of this file, which is up here, I want to update the contents. If you scroll down, we have an updated content here for the app sidebar. You can see what it's gonna look like this. It's gonna look like this now. So here's the sidebar trigger. This icon you see here is a sidebar trigger. If you click on it, it triggers, it opens and closes the sidebar. So I'll just copy this. Copy now. It's gonna be the contents of the app sidebar. We'll just replace the entirety of this and then paste it. Let's see what we've got. So yeah, I think we are good. So we are not done yet. So we have our main layout now. So over here, we're going to come here to configure. Right now, we're going to configure our routes in here. So as usual, I'm going to say the browser router from React router DOM. Then we're going to have the routes from React router DOM, and then we're going to have routes, the individual routes. So our routes is going to point to the main layouts. I'm going to say element should be equal to main layouts, right? And then let's open this control and period. That's spell it wrongly. Main layouts. Yeah, here it is. So we have the route now. So I'm going to also pass in the paths. The path's going to be the home routes. If I'm correct. I don't know why this guy is showing a red sign. The paths, elements, routes. Then let's add. So right now, these are parent routes. So I'm going to add the home route. I'm going to say routes. I'm going to add the index routes. Whereby whenever you visit this path, we're going to have a route displayed to us. You understand? Hope you understand. So whenever you visit this path, I want to add the default route that is going to get displayed, because what we have here is like what we have here is a parent. This main layout you see here, it's a parent component that all other pages are going to inherit. You understand? So right now, whenever you come over to this home route, you are meant to see an active page, and that's the page I'm trying to add. I'm going to say routes, I'm going to say index, and it's going to be elements equal to, I'm going to say home page, home page. I don't know why this guy is interfering with my code. Let's call it home page. So I'm going to create this now quickly, but I still wonder why I'm having this error here. Let's close this route, close it. It's going to be self-closing. So I'm wrong. Okay, you can see we're having some errors around this element, the index. Oh, this route is coming from the wrong place. It's not meant to be. It's meant to come from. It's meant to come from the React router DOM. So click on it and hold on Control and period. Yeah, in React router DOM. So you can see the errors are gone now. So right now, let's go create the home page. So I'm going to create a new folder, and inside of the source folder, I'm going to call this folder pages. So over there, I'm going to create a new file called home page. home page .txx. I'm going to say RAFCE. So you have the home page over here. I could just say hello world, right? So we got to our home page now. Back to the app.txx now. Hold on, control and period. So we've got the home page ready. So we've got our routes good to go. So now I think we are good to go. Right, we have our sidebar. Perfect. We have the main layout. This layout is a page that all other pages will have to inherit, right? And the other pages are being represented by this line called outlets, right? So and then we have our routing configured in the app.txs. These are our routing. So whenever you come out to the home page, now the home page is pointing down to the parent element. The parent element is the element that all other pages are going to inherit. For example, the sidebar is going to be on all pages, right? So when you get to the parent element, you are meant to show a page is meant to be displayed by default, and that page that gets displayed by default is the home page you have here. Hope you understand. So that was what's happening now. So I'm going to go over to the browser. So what we have here, perfect. And so now we've got this. Now we have our sidebar on the left, and we have hello world. You can see toggle. It's working, right? So that's it now. So right now we have to convert this to a standard ChatGPT kind of sidebar. So we're going to work on that next. Okay, now so let's proceed back to our main layout now. Before you now over here now, so I want to do something. So just here, I'm going to add something. Right now I want to add some Tailwind styles. So first thing first, this main tag is what holds the entirety of our. This main tag is what holds is what holds the entirety of our page. You understand? This main tag you see here. We have the sidebar. We have the sidebar on its own. Here's the sidebar, right? And then the pages all fall. The other pages all fall inside of this main tag. The one we have this side, right? This trigger you see here, this sidebar trigger, it will be removed from here later. It's going to be added to the navbar, but for now let's leave it there. So right now I want to add some class names to this main tag instance. It's going to have a width of full. It's going to take up the full screen of our. It's going to take up the full height of our screen, of our computer screen. It's going to have a display of flex. It's going to be a flex column, a column flex, right? So we have to do this now. Very important. Now, so as for the app sidebar now, it's not looking that polished. I want to make it look like a ChatGPT kind of sidebar. So I'm going to copy the code. Remember, I already worked on this previously before this video, so I can't start typing the code from scratch again. If you need the source code is in the video's description. You can go check it out for free. It's on GitHub. You can check it out and use the code, right? If I can't type everything, so I have to do some copying and pasting, right? So now here is the sidebar, the sidebar complete code. They already built one. So this is still static. There is no backend attached to it. So yes, this is a static one. So just copy this entire code, Ctrl C, Ctrl C, and over here, I'll just replace what we have here to this. And then we're going to have a much more premium looking sidebar. So right now it's complaining that we have to add this component called badge. This badge component comes from Shadcn, and over to Shadcn we have to go down to components, look up badge. Here is the badge. So we can then copy this line and then install badge. And once you do that, we can then proceed. So I'll copy this, hit enter to install the badge components. To install the badge components you get. So let's wait for it to install. So currently it's trying to install the dependencies. Okay, it's done. So right now this sidebar you see is the same. It's the same structure as what I showed you on Shadcn documentation. It has a sidebar which is the outer rectangle, and then we have the contents, and instead of that content we have sidebar groups. We can have multiple groups. Instead, we have multiple groups inside of a sidebar contents. You get, so we have another group here, This group is what holds the recent charts. You understand the recent charts. Remember, just like today's charts. This other group is what holds yesterday's charts. Just like ChatGPT, we understand. Then we have over here the last 7 days charts is being held in this group. It's simple, you get. So we just have some dummy objects here with the recent charts, the yesterday charts, last 7 days, instead, just to make it look real. So later we're gonna use a real backend with Django to make everything perfect. You get. So let's see what we have on the page. Here we are. Yeah, so you can see now we are having something that looks like a ChatGPT kind of sidebar. We have the recent charts, the yesterday's charts, last 7 days. Don't worry, the code is live in this video's description, the source code. So we've gotten the sidebar. So right now let's go get this nav bar. This nav bar we have here. Let's work on that next. Okay, so right now let's work on the nav bar. Let's right now I want to work on a nav bar that looks like this. What we have here, Promptify and these alt buttons. So let's add this nav bar. So over here we're gonna add over to our components. We're gonna create a new file. We're gonna call it navbar.txx. Navbar.txx. Then yeah, that's it now. So right now I'm gonna copy the code. I am going to explain the code that I'm going to explain the code that formed this navbar. So here's the code over here. Here's a navbar. Remember, I already built up this project before this tutorial. So here's a navbar. I'm going to just take my time to explain it a bit instead. So right now we have this state called dark mode. By default, the value is false by default. Right. So then we have this use effect. The use effect helps to run code. It runs the code whenever the page renders, instead. So whenever this navbar gets displayed on the screen, the content of this use effect is going to get triggered. They are going to run. So right now, what does the content say? So first of all, remember we have the state called dark mode up here. So right now we are checking to see if there is an item in our local storage called team. We're trying to see if the value of the team item in our local storage is called dark. We're trying to check for that. You understand? So we are trying to check if it is in our local storage. You understand? But currently, let's for example now, there is no item called team in the local storage. There is no item. So right now, this is completely false by default. This expression returns false. So we have this value equal to false. So this value is equal to false, right? So we're going to simply update this state called dark mode. We're going to update the value to false. You understand? But if we have an item called team in our local storage and the value is dark, so this is going to be true, right? So is dark becomes true, and then we're going to update this state called dark mode to true, right? And then what we did here is this now is the documents. Right now we are trying to add this class to the document, this dark class to the documents. So if this dark class is set to true, if it is set to true, remember this is dark is coming from here. If this dark class is set to true, that means the entire background, your entire document, your entire screen is going to give the dark mode. It's going to turn dark. You understand? So what this toggle does, this toggle helps to add and remove. If this value is true, it adds the class of dark to the browser's documents. So instead, to your DOM, to the documents, instead, to your entire page, it adds this dark value. So if dark is false, it removes the dark style, the dark class from your browser's DOM. Hope you understand. So that's how we do dark mode and light mode in React. It's like because this dark color you see here has been configured in your index of CSS. They've been configured up here. You scroll to the top, you see it has been configured. This dark mode. So if this dark gets added to your DOM, to your document, to your page, if it gets added, you're going to have your entire background turn dark. It's not turn dark, you understand? And thankfully, Shadcn already supports dark mode and light mode. You can see here, what we have here is the all we have here are the roots, are the normal default stylings for your components, the normal default variables for your components. And then we have the dark version. So Shadcn supports dark mode and light mode by default. So we have the normal light mode version up here, normal light mode variables. These are your CSS variables. And over here we have the dark mode version in case you want to integrate light mode or dark mode into your projects. So that was happening here. So now we check if the theme, if you have an item called theme in our local storage, and we also check if the value is dark. If it is dark, we're going to have this value set to true. If this is true, now we're going to simply update the value of dark mode to whatever value this is. This can either be true or false. So over here, we are then going to add this dark class to our DOM, right? So if this is true, we are going to have this dark class added to the DOM. If it is false, we are going to have this dark class removed from the DOM. It is through this dark class that we get to enable light mode and dark mode in React with the help of Shadcn. You understand? Shadcn and Tailwind, not just Shadcn and Tailwind. So now we have this toggle theme. This toggle theme now, this is a function that helps to whenever this button is being clicked, that function gets called. You understand? Whenever this button up here has been clicked. So let me explain what's going on now. So we are doing the same thing we did up here. So first of all, to toggle now, we are going to simply negate the value of dark mode. We are going to negate the value of dark mode. If dark mode is false, it becomes true whenever we click on the button, right? So then we are going to simply update dark mode based on this value. We're going to update the value of dark mode based on this is dark value. And then again, we are going to simply add this class name called dark or remove it based on the value of is dark, right? And then we are going to then set the local storage. We're going to then set item. We're going to then add theme. We're going to add this theme. We're going to add a new item to our local storage called theme. So if this dark is true, we are going to have dark stored as the value of theme in our local storage. But if this dark is false, we're going to have light stored as the value of theme in the local storage. I really hope you do understand. So this is what helps us with the light mode and dark mode. So this helps us whenever the page renders, whenever the nav this runs whenever the page first renders, whenever the navbar first gets displayed on the screen. Why this one here you have here execute whenever you click on the button on this toggle, this sunlight and moon icon, right? So that's what is going on there. And if you scroll, then we have our navbar styles, we have them, we have our logo, we have the sidebar trigger, the trigger that's in this time we have the trigger now instead of the navbar. It's going to be removed from the main it's going to be removed from the main element from the main layout to be removed from there. It's now inside the navbar. Then we have our logo called Promptify, and over here we have the button, we have the dark mode, and we have the sun and the moon icon. So if dark mode is true, we are going to display the sun icon. If it is false, we are going to display the moon icon. And then we have our sign in, and we have the sign in and the sign out button, and then we have our profile picture, the avatar. So that's what it is. Simple, isn't it? So that's it. Now I can always go through the code. The source code is in the video description. I'm going to copy this navbar, Ctrl A, Ctrl C, and I'll paste it just here. So we have a new navbar. So remember, this our sidebar trigger is now inside of the navbar. So back to our main layout now. We are going to have the navbar across all pages. So we have to add it to the main layout, right? So just here, so right now I'm going to simply move this sidebar trigger. This, what we have here. I don't need this icon anymore here. Come over here and I'll remove it. I'm going to just simply remove it and then add the navbar instead on navbar. Yeah, so we have our navbar there now. So every other element, so the navbar is going to be is going to be inherited alongside the sidebar, right? So let's see what we have now. Throw an error. Okay, from the nav. Okay, back here. Let's remove this sidebar trigger. We don't need it. So back to the nav bar. We have to add this Shadcn component called avatar back here. Um, Something went wrong. Let's see. We have navbar imported, right? Okay, now let's go back to the navbar and install the avatar Shadcn components. Click on components. Here is avatar. So just copy this. Paste and hit enter. Okay, now we've successfully installed the avatar. So hopefully this disappears. Okay, it's gone. So we have our navbar now in the main layouts. And then back to the browser, we should have it's loading up now. We should have the navbar displaying on the page. We should have our navbar displaying on the page. Let's wait for it. Okay, as you can see now, we have the navbar now displaying on the page. So the light mode and the dark mode is working, as you can see. So you can see now when the navbar got added, our page turned dark by default. That's because we already have the theme in the local storage. We already have the same item stored in our local storage because I've been working with this previously. So we already have theme stored and the value was dark, as always has been dark, right? That's why over here the page turned dark by default, right? So right now you can toggle, and on toggle, even if I refresh the page, the theme still remains. It doesn't go back to the default state, it remains, right? So right now we have successfully added the navbar. So what let's now let's add up this home page. This page, let's add this page up. So let's do that right away. Okay guys, so right now we've completed the navbar. So what's left? Let's work on the home page again. So for the home page now we're gonna I'm gonna go over to this. What we have on the home page is simply hello world, right? So this is not good enough. So over here I have the standard home page. So I'm going to explain what is going on here. You understand? So first of all, so when trying to make a prompt, when trying to pass a prompt like this, pass a prompt, for example, over here, when trying to pass a prompt here, yeah, this text area, the prompt has to be in this format. It has to have a role. For example, when the user is passing the prompts, the role has to be user, and then the content is going to be the value coming from this field, right? It has to be an object, right? So that's how it's meant to be. So by default, the first prompt here is coming from the assistant. It's coming from the AI model. That's why it has the role of assistant, and it's asking what's welcome. I'm here to assist you. So when you so right now we have this field called inputs. This is a controlled input field. Understand? So the input is the value of the text area field. Understand? So this what you have here, it's I'm going to explain what this does. This helps us to scroll down to the point where we are. It is a smooth scroll. For example, if you open ChatGPT and if you let's say we search for something, we prompt ChatGPT let's assume we prompt ChatGPT to give us an answer to something. You remember it always scrolls down to the point where you are. So that's what this bottom ref and use effect does. Else with a smooth scroll to where we are. You understand? So you don't have to manually scroll down yourself. Once you pass in the prompt and hit enter, it scrolls down to the exact place, exact prompt you are. I don't let me just I don't know how to, but if you open ChatGPT right now, let me explain that. Let's close this and let me show you what I'm talking about. Okay, now I'm gonna open one of these. Click on it. Let's see. Because let me just say, I need to. Okay, let me just come over here and say, awesome. Hit enter. You can see it scroll down. You can see there was a scroll down. That's what I was talking about. You get what I was talking about. You get so that what this does. So now we have this function that says this is a function that gets called whenever we click on whenever we click whenever we click send after you've have inputted your prompt. This undo send function gets called. First of all, it makes sure that it makes sure that the field is not empty. It trims it. Let's assume you come over here and you impute some, let's say, some empty spaces like this. It's gonna get the value and trim it. So if you imputed an empty space into the field, into the search field, nothing is going to happen. That's what the trim does. The trim helps to cut off every empty space. And if there are no values in the form, if the form field has an empty space or is empty, nothing happens. Right? That's what happens there. So now I'm going to explain what's going on here. Let's explain what's going on here. So right now, for example, let's assume you're on a new. Let's assume for example now. Let me just refresh this page. Currently, this is a static front end. That is quite static. For example, now let's say let me clear up the what's the name the URL. So right now we are here now. We are on a new. We are trying to pass. We are trying to pass our first prompt. You are always required to pass. You are always required to pass the contents of this field. Pass the contents of this field, and then pass the chat's ID. You may understand. So you can see now. Currently, these are an existing chat, and it has an ID. I mean, you're always required to pass an ID, right? If I click on new chart now, remember that there is no ID, right? There is no ID, so I have to auto-generate an ID and then pick the value of the input field and then create a chat session and its messages. The chat refers to the, for example, now this is a chat session. If I click on this is a chat session right here, right? And these are its messages. So a chat session is the parents, while all those responses we have here are the children. And we have two types of responses. A response coming from the AI model, that's one usually have the role of assistant. And we have the response coming from the user. Whenever I input a text here into the search field and hit enter, that's a response coming from me. Whenever the AI model gives me an answer, that's that's the message coming from the AI model, and it has a role called assistant. Hope you understand. So that what is happening here now. So right now I'm checking to see now if the path name is currently the home path, or if the path name says new. We have to navigate to chat, then the chat ID. You understand? That's what you are doing here. You get so currently now, if I try searching, if I click on the new chat right away, and if I ask ChatGPT a question, like let me see what's today's date. Today's date. Currently, you can see now there is no ID up here, but if I click on send, it directs me to the ID, right? So by default, this ID is a random value. It gets sent to the backend to create these chats, this chat and its messages. Hope you understand. That was happening there. So I really hope you understand what I'm trying to say now. So I check now if the path name is the home path, or if the path name says chat slash new, always navigate to chat slash chat ID. So this chat ID is gonna be a dynamic value. It's gonna consist of about 32 characters or 16 characters like this one. You understand? So we are getting there very soon. When we get to the back end, you're gonna see how it works. So that's what it does. So now you can see now I'm trying to pass in a new message. The role is user. That simplifies that I'm the one trying to pass in the prompts. And the content is the input. The input is the value coming from the text area field. Hope you get. So now this is a dummy reply. This is a dummy reply from the from the AI model. You can see now the role says assistant and the content is just a dummy response, right? So, and over here, I'm going to update messages. I'm going to update messages. Remember, messages is we have this state called messages. It helps to list out the entire. It helps to list out the responses from the AI model and from the user. You understand? So if I open this now, these are messages. Some are coming from the AI model, some are coming from me, the user. The ones from the AI model always have a role called assistant. The one coming from the user are always going to have a role called user. For example, now this is my, right? So these are AI responses, and their role are all they all have the role of they all have the role called assistants. So that was happening here too. So yeah, so whenever I make a prompt, I always update. Whenever I pass a prompt, I always update the states, right, with the user's prompt and also with the response from the AI model. That was happening here. That was happening here. So and over here, you can see now whenever I pass a prompt, remember by default we have this value. We have this value as the value for messages by default instead. So whenever I pass a prompt, I always filter out this value. You understand? So we don't want to have we don't want to have this always on top here. We don't want to have it there. It should only be there before you pass a prompt. But once I pass a prompt, if I just say hi, how are you? Once I pass a prompt now, we don't want to see this welcome here. I'm here to assist you. No. If I click send, it disappears. Now we have here hi, how are you? This is a message coming from the user. This is a response coming from the AI model, right? So this is still static. There is no backend attached to it yet. So that's what the front end. That what the page does. So whenever I whenever I pass a prompt, whenever I click on send, right? So this particular line helps to set the field back to an empty string. Hope you understand. So that was happening there. And over here, remember now, as I said before, we are going to list out all the messages, right? We are displaying out all the messages. The one coming from the AI model, the one coming from the user are all displayed on the page. So what we are doing here now. So right now you can see I'm trying to map through the messages. I'm trying to display the contents. Instead, so I'm mapping through them and I'm displaying them. The one coming from the user, the messages coming from the user, I can see here I said if message dot rule is equal to user, if the message rule is equal to user, we are going to render the message rule in a simple normal div. In a normal div. But if the response is coming, if the response coming back is from the AI model, remember I can ask for a code snippet. You understand? So we cannot pass a code snippet into a normal div. You understand? So you cannot pass you cannot pass a formatted text into a normal div. It's not going to look good to the eyes, right? That's why I had to use this. I had to use this component called React Markdown, right? React Markdown, and it works super beautiful. It works well. React Markdown is good enough. So all these parts you see here, from this highlighted parts down to this portion, helps to support code. If I remove this now, currently now we only have React Markdown. You can see it here. It helps to format the response properly. It looks good. But the part I removed now, the part I just removed now, helps to support code. Whenever let's assume now we pass a prompt and the prompt is to generate a code, some codes for us. For example, some Python code or some JavaScript code. So that's part I removed. Let me just control Z. This part now helps to format. It helps with the displaying of code snippets. This part here I just highlighted, but without it, yeah, without so if I remove it now, our code snippets will still come out well with React Markdown. It will still come out greatly. It's gonna come out well. You still love it, but with that part I just removed, it helps to make the code snippets look more beautiful. You understand? So that's why I had to add it. So if the response coming back is from is having the role of assistant, they're going to be rendered inside of this React Markdown. You understand? So that was happening here. So this is for the bottom ref. That's the smooth scroll. The smooth scroll to the bottom. You can see div ref, bottom ref. Remember we have the bottom ref up here. right? And then we did some use effect stuff here for a smooth scroll to the bottom, right? So whenever messages changes, whenever the page renders, this will always be triggered. You get. So that's it for the home page. Simple and short. So this is just, so we have the send button. Whenever you click on the send button on this icon, the undo send function gets called. Right. So it's that simple. Here's our text area field. This field, this is a text area field. Remember this field you have here. So I also make sure that if you hit enter, if you, let's see, after typing and you hit enter, it also call the undo send function. Hope you understand. It also calls it. You get. So that's it now for the home page. Simple. This is just the front end. It is still a static page. So once I add the back end, we're going to have a live ChatGPT kind of application. But currently, ours is called Promptify. So I'm going to just copy this and replace this contents here. Just Control A, Control V. We have to do some importing, right? So this is called home page. I called it home page. Let me just make sure. Okay, it's called home page. Yeah, so now we have to install React Markdown, React Syntax Alighter. So those are the things we have to install. So I'm going to say npm install React Markdown. I love the package, beautiful package. It helps with displaying the response from ChatGPT in a beautiful way. Without React Markdown, the response is going to look out. You won't like it at all. If you display the response in the normal div, it won't look good to you. It is going to look so awful. But thanks to React Markdown, it helps to format the response from we get from this AI models in a beautiful way. You get. So right now we have the React Markdown package installed. So right now let's go add React with the React syntax light. So let's go add that right away. So right now we already have the React Markdown installed. So right now let's install React syntax lighter. So I'll paste the code here. So currently the code looks different. So right now that's because we are using TypeScript. So I had to add I had to add the save dev at types. Understand? So that's because of TypeScript. So if you are using JavaScript, there will be no need for this. Understand? So but with TypeScript, you have to also include the types. That's what I did here for the React syntax lighter. Hope you understand. So now let's install text area is coming from where? Shadcn, right? Click on components and then let's look, there is text area. Here's a command, just copy and then back here, paste it and hit enter. So I have text area installed. So text area is currently installed, right? Each line, so it's done. So back to the browser over here. Let's see what we've got. Suffering from this React syntax lighter. What could be wrong? Back to the browser. Let's install this also. Let's try this. Hit enter. Already installed this one due to TypeScript, but it's still complaining about it. Surprised. But right now I'm trying to install the normal package. This. Let's see how far it goes. Okay, it's done now. Hopefully it works. I only hope it works this time. Good, it worked. So I guess I have to install both of them. Both the one coming from TypeScript and the normal part, this one, right? And also this one. So you can try both, you can try any of them and see which one works for you. But for me, when I was building up the tutorial, when I was building the project the first time, I had to install both of them before it could work. Right? I installed this first before installing this one. It gets right. It gets so I think they need each other to work, but it's fine. So right now we've got our own page looking like this. So right now our own page is still dummy, it is still static. So it's time to add a backend to make it interactive and super functional. We're going to be using GPT-4 on the backend as well as Django. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So we're going to see in the next episode. Okay, so right now we have the front end up already. So let's work on the back end instead. So over here, I'm going to go over to my command prompt. I'm going to create our backend project instead. So right now let's look up CMD. This is CMD. So here we see a command prompt. So now let's work on the backend quickly. So I'm going to go into, let me just increase the size. I'm going to go into documents, then go into my backend folder. It's called Django underscore projects. Oh, sorry, Django CD into Django underscore projects. So right here, I'm going to create a folder. I'm going to call it MK. I'm going to say MKDIR. I'm going to call the folder promptify underscore API. So inside, I'm going to go into the folder. The folder is called promptify underscore API. So I'm inside here now. So the first thing, right now, I'm going to create a virtual environment. Right, I'm going to say Python make venv. I'm going to call it prompt. Let me just call it prompt. Prompt underscore env, or let me just say prompt env. Yeah, one word. So right now, this command is going to help us create our virtual environment, and it is called prompt env. So this is virtual environment. You are going to install all the dependencies for this project. So let's right now let's wait for the virtual environment to get created. So right now the virtual environment has been created. So right now I'm going to say right now I'm going to activate the virtual environment. So I'm going to say prompt env, then scripts, then activate. This is how we do it in Windows. Oh sorry, activate. So if you're on Mac or Ubuntu, you're going to say source, then say prompt env. You're going to say forward slash bin, then forward slash activate. For those on for those on Linux or Mac computers, I'm going to say prompt env. Either this is going to be either bin. If bin doesn't work, you can try scripts. So this is how you do it on Mac and Linux. So right now we have our virtual environment activated. How do I know? You can see over here it has been activated. You can see it here. So right now I'm going to install Django into the virtual. I'm going to install Django into the virtual environment because currently it is activated. So whatever I install now goes into the virtual environment. Right? I'm going to say pip install Django. So now let's wait for Django to get installed. So currently we're having Django getting installed. Let's give it some time. So right now we already have Django. We have Django installed in the virtual environment. So right now let's go to our Django project. I'm going to say Django admin. Django admin. I'm going to say start project. I think I'm going to call this Django admin start projects. Start projects. I'm going to call it promptify. Promptify. I'm going to put in a dot to make sure that this promptify does not have an extra folder. I want to just make sure that this promptify is going to see prompt underscore API as its parent folder. So I don't want an extra folder to be created for Promptify. So that's why I added the dots there. So say Django admin start project Promptify, then you put in the period. So hit enter. So yep, so now we already have that done. So now, okay, so once this is done now, what's the next thing? So I'm going to open this directory with VS Code. I'm going to say code, then dots. So let's see what it looks like. That's what we have now. We have Promptify as a parent folder. Then we have our virtual environment, and then we have the Django project called Promptify. Right? Perfect. So that's what we want now. So what's the next thing? So okay. So right now we're going to create our app. So I'm going to create, let's open a terminal, new terminal. Let's create our Django app. Say Python manager.py start app. I'll call this promptify underscore app. Promptify underscore app. Then Python is Python manager.py start app promptify underscore app. Hit enter. So you have the app created here. You can see it over here. This is our new app. You can see it now. So you have to have this app registered. So go over to, we're going to go over to our Django project and it's called Promptify. So in the send.py file, we have to register the app called Promptify underscore app. So over here, in the installed apps, come over here and then add a new line. I'm going to call it Promptify underscore app. So now, yep, so I think we are good to go now. Okay. Okay, so right now we are going to be working with Django REST framework to build up these APIs. So we have to install the Django REST framework package. So I'm going to say pip install Django REST. It's going to be a single word, Django REST framework. Pip install Django REST framework. So while it gets installed, we're going to come over here and then we're going to then add, that should be a comma. Then we're going to add a package called REST underscore framework. Yeah, REST underscore framework. So that's good. So now, yeah, so right now we can go ahead and start working on the models. So yeah, so right now back to our promptify underscore app. So the models.py file. So let's create our models for this promptify application. So I'm trying to build an AI powered assistant, just similar to ChatGPT, right? So back here, okay, already. So now let's go. Let's work on the models quickly. So I want to be a bit fast with this. So remember, I already built this application before making this video. So I already have the code down. So to make things faster, I'll copy the code and I'll explain to you guys what is happening. So back here to our models.py file. This is already built system. So the models.py file. So we have to, okay, first of all, we customize the user model, right? I'm going to come over here, copy this customization. So so right now to quickly customize your user model, this is how you do it. Very, very fast. So right now, by default, the emails for the user, for the users in Django, their emails are not unique by default. So I have to customize the user model to make the email unique, right? And this is how you do it. So right now I'm using the abstract user class. So let me copy the import statement for the abstract user class. So yeah, so right now I have to customize user model by making the email unique in a sense. So that's the first thing I did. So after you might have done this, the next thing you have to do is to go down to your settings.py file. So you just scroll to the bottom. So we are going to just let Django know that we've customized the user model. We're going to say alt underscore user underscore model should be equal to, you're going to say the app is called promptify underscore app, promptify underscore app dot, the model name is called custom user, that's custom user, right? Just copy back here, paste it. So that's what you need to do. And so we're not done yet. So let me see what I did in the admin.py file. Let's see. Okay, let me just copy this now. So I should just register the user in the Django admin, right? So right now let's go over to our admin.py file. All these things are easy. You can just ask ChatGPT to help you with it. If so, I don't. We have to import custom user. This is a model. This is our model name, custom user. So to import it, hold down control and period. Yeah. So let's import user admin control and period. Let's see if we can import that control and period. It's not coming up. Let me just copy the import from here. It's coming from django.contrib.auth.admin import user admin. So now, right now, we've registered our customized user to the Django admin. That's great. So now, our model. So right now, we just customized our user model. So right now, let's go get the other models. I think there are two more models we have there. So and they are the chat session and the messages. So I'm going to explain what's going on here. Let's just copy this. Okay, let's copy this first. The chat session. I'm going to explain what it is. So I'll come over here, paste it. I'm going to call it chats and not chat session. Let's call it chats, right? So now I'm going to call this field. This field is going to be called the ID. The ID, right? I'm going to say models.uuid field. It's going to be equal to uuid.uuid4. So right now I'm trying to make. So right now let me show you what this chat represents. Let's go over to ChatGPT. Let's look up some. Let me just open it and show you what the chat represents. Okay, let's see. So each of these are all what we call chats. So if I open one of them, so now this is a given chat. This is a given chat, right? So each of this response, the one that comes from me, the one that comes from the AI, they are all messages. They are all called chat messages, right? So a chat has several chat messages. You understand? So here is a chat. This is the chat now. The chat title. And let me just make this. So here's a chat title. This highlighted stuff here is a chat title. And once you open the chat title, what you see there are the chat messages. It is a parent to children relationship. A parent can have several children, and the children are simply the chat messages. And every chat has a unique ID. You can see the ID up here. Every chat has a unique ID. So this ID is not the normal ID we have like 1, 2, 3, 4. This is a UUID. That's why I had to come over here and make the ID a UUID. You understand? So that's to make it more unique and not easy to guess, right? So right now we have to import UUID. So come over here. Let me see. Let me see where it's imported. Okay, just simply UUID. It's gonna help you import UUID, right? So now, so this is the ID. So I'm going to say model should be equal to models.uuid. The default is going to be uuid.uuid4. We're going to say, let's just say primary underscore key should be equal to true. And let's say editable should be false. Editable should be equal to false. So for now, we don't need the user mode. We don't need the user yet. So I'll just remove it. So now you can see every chat has a title. If I show you over here, here's the title of this chat now. Here's the title over here, right? And all you see here are the chat messages. This is coming from the AI. Let me show you. So this is coming. All this. So right now this is coming from me. This is a question. This is a chat coming from me. This is a response coming from the AI. So all these are all chat messages. Both your inputs and the response from the AI model are all called chat messages, right? So now we've got our chat model done. It has the ID field, the title field, and the created art field, right? And then, okay, I'm going to simply, let's just remove this for now. We don't need it. Yeah, so now let's work on the chats. Right now, let's work on the chat messages model. Okay, so right now, let's work on the chat messages, right? So let's work on the model. I'm going to say class chat message. Oh, sorry, chat message. So I have to inherit from models. What am I doing? Model. So the first thing you need to know, we have to link it to the chat model. I'm going to say chat should be equal to, I'm going to say models dot foreign key. So if you're going to link up to the chat model, I'm going to say undelete should be equal to models.cascade. models.cascade. Then I'm going to say related name should be equal to messages, or let's say messages. Yeah, so we have to have the role. Remember, our chat message can ask is asked to have two roles in instance. So from what I showed you here, a message can be coming from the user, while a message can be coming from the AI model. So the roles are going to be, let me show you. So we're going to have it. We're going to have this now. I'm going to say, let's just say roles should be equal to. First of all, I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to say assistants. Assistants, and then the other role is going to be equal to user. The user is the person making the prompts. Is the user passing in the asking the questions. The assistant is the one answering. Right? I'm going to say user. Yeah. Now, so our role is going to have two values, either assistant or user. So I'm going to say role should be equal to. I'm going to say models.character field. Models.character field. I'm going to say max length should be equal to, let's just say 15, right? And I'll say choices should be equal to rows, right? So, yep, so we've gotten that now. So what next? So over here I'm going to ask in the contents. This is the message that is being passed. So the content refers to the message the user is asking, or it can also be the response from the AI, right? I'm going to say models dots text field. And then we're going to add the created ads. This last one, just copy this. Yeah, so I'm going to add a string function. Do I need to add a string function? Just add it. It's going to say def underscore str string. So if I just simply return, I can just copy what I have here to be faster. Serve.role and the contents, the first 50. Then we are going to let me just paste it here. So right now I'm returning the role, right, and the first 50 characters of the content, the first 50, this should be called self, right? So we've got this already. We've got this too. We've got the chat. We've got the chat messages now. So I'm going to go over to the admin. Right now I'm going to register those two models. I'm going to say at admin.register. So I'm going to register the chat first. Chat. That's a chat, right? So if I'm going to say class chat admin. And I'm going to be inheriting from models dots. Sorry, from admin.model admin. From admin dots model admin. So I'm going to add the let's add the model. The model is going to be equal to the chat model, and the fields to list display. I'm going to say list display should be equal to. Could just add the ID, the title. Let's see, I have the ID. The ID and the title is okay. Let's add created at also. Created underscore art. So now let's import charts. Click on it and hold down control and period. Yeah, add the import from here. So let's do the same thing for our chat message. I'm going to say at admin.register. I'll say chat message. I'll say def chat message admin. I'm going to say admin dot model admin. We're going to say model should be equal to chat message. Let's say list display should be equal to, then I'm going to just add the ID, the, what's it called? I think the role, then contents, and then created at. So let's import chat message, control and period. So, okay, so I think we are good to go now. We have to make, I think I made a mistake here. So it's called class, not def. So now we've got this done. We've got our models done. Let's add up our serializers quickly. So over here, I'm going to add a new file called serializers.py. It's called serializers. Serializers.py. So right there, I'm going to say from REST underscore framework import serializers. So right now I'm going to say let's say class chat serializer. Chat serializer should be equal to serializer is going to be equal to, then we're going to inherit from serializers dot model serializer, and then I'm going to say class meta, and I'll say model should be equal to chats, and the fields I could just say list out all the fields. Let me just add all. This is going to give us all the fields, right? So let's import chats with an control and period. And let's work on the chat message. I'm going to add the chat message serializer. I'm going to say class chat message serializer. We're going to inherit from serializers.model serializer. And then I'm going to say class meta. The model should be equal to chat message. I'm going to say field should be equal to, I want to list out the ID, the role, the contents. Is my text too small? It's now looking too big. The contents, and then last field is called created underscore at. So now right now we've got, let's import the chat message model. Go down, click on it and hold down control and period to have it imported. Yep, so now we've done it to our models. We're done with the serializers. Right, the admin is done. Let's make migrations quickly. Let's say Python manage.py make migrations. I really hope I'm not making any mistake anywhere. Make migrations. Let's make migrations. Now let's migrate. Okay, let's go. Now let's create our super user. I'm going to say Python manage.py create super user. Oh, sorry, I spelled it wrongly. Manage.py, not create super user. I'm gonna put in my username, Clint. We can okay, me add an email, clint@gmail.com. I'm gonna add a password. I'm gonna say yes. Come on. Okay, right now we have successfully made migrations. We have also successfully created a new super user. Our models is done. We also have our serializers completed. So right now, let's work on the views. Okay, now so let's proceed now. So right now, it's time for us to go prompts. It's time for us to write the views.py file. It's time for us to start getting the responses from the AI model. So let's work on that right now. Before we do that now, I have to give this a. We have to also make it null equal true. That's because we are going to create the charts without the title first. We are going to create the charts without providing the title yet. You understand? I'm going to show you. I'm going to explain what I'm doing. So right now, just add this new null equal true. So because we are going to create the charts without a title, and then we're going to update the chart title later. So to avoid any issues, just add blank true and null equal true. So now we're going to make migrations. Make migrations. Come on. And now we have to migrate. It's enter to migrate. Okay, so that's gonna be done soon. So right now, okay, it's done. So that's the views.py. So I'm gonna add a new. I'm gonna call this. I'm gonna say prompt underscore GPT. So right now I'm trying to prompt the AI model. So we're gonna be prompting GPT. Okay, we're about to prompt it. I'm gonna show you how we are gonna do it now. Passing the request, and then to prompt this GPT, we need two things. We need the chat ID and the content. The content refers to the message the user is asking. For example, now to prompt GPT right now, I'm going to create a new one now. Let me show you now. I'll come over here now. Let's create a new chat. I could come over here. I'm going to say how to become a better developer. So right now I'm passing in this is the message. This is the content. I'm passing the content, and then we're going to have the type. We're going to have the ID. So if I pass this now, watch now. Here's the ID we are also passing. We're passing the ID. This one we have up here, and here's the contents. And this content we have here is of type is as a rule of user, because this is what the user asked. And this response you see on the screen here as the role of assistant, because it is coming from the AI model. You understand? So right now we're going to pass in the contents of type user, and also the chat ID to create a chat. So over here, come here, and if you watch closely now, the title of this chat was created based on what was asked. You understand? You can see the title of the chat is coming. The title of the chat says becoming a better dev. So the model was able to know what I'm talking about, and then it give it a title. So the title is not a static value. It is not a fixed value. It is a The title comes from based on what you asked. You get so right now the title is not basically copying what I asked. He just saw what I asked and it was able to summarize it in his own word to form its title. So to get the title also, we have to also prompt the AI model. So we're gonna get there. So right now, to prompt the AI model now, we're gonna say the chat ID should be equal. We're gonna say request or data. We have to pass the chat ID. We're gonna say request or data dot get. I'll just say chat underscore ID. Now so the contents or the message. Let me see what I called it here. Call this contents. Okay. Now say content should be equal to. I'm gonna say equal to request dot data dot get. Now say contents. Right, so I'll make sure that if I'm gonna say if not child ID, if you don't provide a child ID, there's gonna be a problem. So come over here and say if not child ID, if you don't provide a child ID, chats underscore ID. I'm gonna say return response. Return response. You just say error. And I'll say chat ID is needed. I'll say chat ID was not provided. Was not provided. We're gonna return a status of 400, status equal 400. Let's import response. I'm gonna say from rest underscore framework dot response import response. Yep. So now if you don't provide the contents, so I'm going to do the same thing for the contents. I'll say if not contents, come over here and say we're going to say the rest. There was no prompt part. I'm going to say there was no prompt passed, right? So yeah. So when we've got this now, we're going to come over here and say chat. Then we're going to say created. Chat then created should be equal to. We're going to say chat dot objects dot get underscore or create id equal to chat underscore id. Remember the title comes based on what you prompted the model. The title is not a static value. So now it's time for us to go. I'm going to show you now how we can prompt the AI model and how we can get a response from it. Right? So I'm going to show you how to prompt the AI, how we can use the AI model on your own application. Remember, we are building this now. We are building this application similar to ChatGPT, right? So now, right, I'm going to show you how you can pass in a prompt here. You click on send. It goes to the AI model. The AI model is going to go through your message and then give you a response. So we have to configure OpenAI into our projects. Hope you understand. So right now, I'm going to go over to the browser. Okay, so right now let's work on configuring OpenAI into our project. Let's work on configuring an OpenAI model into the project. So right now on the browser, look up, just search for OpenAI. OpenAI. So click on the first link, this one, OpenAI. So on this platform now, click on API platform on the sidebar, API platform. It kind of takes some time. So now, yeah. So we are on this page. So on this page, click on documentation. Documentation. Yeah, so we are here now. We are here now. Click on quick starts. Quick starts on the sidebar, the second link. Click on quick starts. So yeah, we are here now. You can see how. So here is a sample. Here is how to configure the AI model to work on your projects, right? Here's how to do it. So right now I'm going to just show you how to this right now. Let's configure for development. Click on this link here. Configure your development environment. Click on this. So respond. Yeah, so now we're on this page now. So you can read what it says here. Say before you begin, create an API key in the dashboard, which you use to securely access the API. Store the key in a safe location like a ZSHRC file or another text file on your computer. For us now, that file represents the env file. Once you have generated an API key, export it in an environment variable in your terminal. So just give us some instructions on what we are going to do, right? So let's get our API key, right? So click on this link, create an API key. So for me, I'm already logged in, right? I am already logged in. So if you're not logged in, you have to. So for me, I'm already logged in. So as for you, you have to go create an account. So create an account on the platform. If you have an account, fine. Simply log in, and then you can get your API key. But if you don't have an account, if you don't have an account, you're going to get. You have to make sure you create your account. You get logged in, and then you get your API key. The steps are all self-explanatory. Hope you understand. So that's how you get your API key, right? So now, I think let's go back. Let's go back. Um, let's go back. How do I even go back? Let's click on Docs. Click on Docs here. Docs. So now we are back here. Yeah. So right now we are going to use the chat completion method to access the OpenAI model. To access it, But if we do that, remember we have to install a package. So for me, I already have my keys. I showed you how to get it now, right? So we have to click on Python. We have to install OpenAI. Just copy, pip install OpenAI. So we're gonna go over to. Let me just look up. So back to our project now. Let's install OpenAI. Pip install. Add that import statement. So what else do we need to do? So we have to add this the top of our views.py. Just copy this from OpenAI, import OpenAI, just on top. From OpenAI, import OpenAI. Just need to add this line. Client should be equal to OpenAI. Just here. Yep, so right now it's time for us to go. It's time for me to show you how to prompt this. So we're going to use the chat completion method. Okay, um so right now click on text and prompting. Text and prompting. Click on it. So yeah, text and prompting. Yeah, we are now on the page now. So I'll scroll down, scroll to the bottom. Let's use the chat completion approach because that one is much more likely the best way to work with this. Here is the chat completions. So right now we're on the chat completions page, right? So we're going to click on quick start. Let me show you how we do it, how it's being done. Quick start. Yep. So here's how we do it now. So we're going to use this. We're going to use this approach. You can see you have to import OpenAI from OpenAI. So I have to add this line. So your API key is also very important. I'm going to show you how to configure that in a short while. Right. So okay. So right now you can see how it is how the API, how the AI is being prompted. You can see how you get it. Let me show you now. So back to our code now. So first thing first, we want to create our title for every chat. Every chat is meant to have a dynamic title based on what the user asked for. So you have to also get our title of the chat from the AI. So I'm going to say dev create chat title, passing the request. So you're going to have a try block, going to have a try. So I'll paste this line. Look at this now. You can see I called it title response. You can see what we are doing here. We are saying client.chat.completion.create. The same thing is happening here. Client.chat.completions.create. So you are trying to ask the AI to generate a title based on the prompt the user passed. Hope you understand. So this now we're going to call this. Okay, so right now we're going to replace this. We're going to pass in a parameter up here. Ouch, my PC is running down. Let me just plug it in. So I'm going to pass in this user message as a parameter up here. User message. Yeah. So so now right now we are so the model we are prompting. Remember, OpenAI has several models. So currently, we are on the free plan. So if you have a paid account on OpenAI, you can use the GPT-4 model. But currently, we are on the free plan, so we're going to use the GPT-4 40 mini. You understand the mini model. You understand? So you can see here. You can see now. So to prompt this model, we have to pass multiple messages, multiple. So the first one the first one we are doing now is that we are asking, the first messages of role. So it's meant to be of role assistants, right? And the content says, give a short descriptive title for this conversation in not more than 5 words. The conversation is what the user passed here, right? This is the user message, right? So right now right now we have another message passed. So right now this is the role is user, and the content is the prompt the user is asking. For example, previously I asked how to become a better developer, right? So that is the user message, right? So we have asking the AI to give us a short descriptive title of the conversation. So then we then passed in the user message, and then the role says user, right? So then we have the title over here. The title is being returned, so it's gonna be. Let me just call this response. Instead, I'm gonna say response. Now I'll place this here response. The choices then zero dot message dot content. So this is how we get the response from the. This is how we get the response from the AI model. So this dot strip helps to remove any white space around. That's what the dot strip does. So we're going to have the catch block. We're going to say except. That's it. Except. So if there is an error, I'm going to say except exception. Uh, except exception. And then we're going to then say title should be equal to. I'm going to say user message user underscore message. I want to just get the first 50 characters of user of the first of the message, the first 50 characters of the prompt the user passed in. Then we can return title, right? Return title. So right now we are going to call this function over here. We're going to call the function over this function we have. We're going to call it here. So let's import charts. Click on it, hold down Control and period to import charts. So over here, I'm going to come over here and say charts dot title should be equal to, the function is called create chart title, create chart title, right? Then we are going to pass in this content. Yeah, so now we've done that. Now then we're going to say charts dot save. Okay, so before we proceed any further, let's go add our API key to the project. Let's add the API key. So right now I've been trying to use Firefox to access the API key, but it's kind of taking time, right? So let me just go back to Chrome. So here's the Chrome now. So I'm going to log in now to my account. Instead of clicking on login, let's just go over to no. Let's go back to OpenAI. OpenAI. Come on. Click on OpenAI. So I'm gonna get my API key. So click on API platform on the sidebar. Come on, API platform. Click on documentation. So click on quick starts, and then quick starts. Click on configure for development environment. Scroll down, and then create an API key in the dashboard. Click on this link. So be asked to log in. So I have an account already. So most I recommend just create a new account on OpenAI so you can get a fresh key. So I'm going to log in right away. So I'm going to just blow my screen and log in. So right now I am logged in now, so I can get my API key, right? So already have an existing API key. So you can always generate a new API key if you want to. You can delete this current one and create a new API key. So if you are creating an account for the first time, you're going to see a different process to getting your API key. But it's simple. Just keep on following the buttons. You click on next, proceed, continue. But so that's how you go about it. So right now I already have my API key copied. So you can always generate a new one if you want to, a new secret key. So I'll go back to my code now. So right now I'm going to create a file called .env, new file .env. So I'm going to create a new file called git ignore. So I want to make sure that I don't push the API key to GitHub or to any public platform. Git ignore. So I'm going to add the .env file there, so it doesn't get pushed. So I'm going to say open AI underscore API underscore key. So now I can then paste in my API key, right? So I just pasted mine there. It's super long, right? So paste yours too. Back to my send.py file. So before you proceed now, let's go and we have to have a package called .env, so you can access what we have in our env file. So we have to install a package called .env, python.env. So that's the right thing to call it. Yeah, python.env. Install this in this package called python.env. See your virtual environment, hit enter, and then what's the next thing? So you have to come over here, just copy this line, go back to your views.py file, add this line on top of your code, just here, and then lastly you have to also copy this load.env. We just paste that here, and oh sorry, I don't think it's meant to be here. It's meant to be in the same.py file. Sorry, settings.py. Just Control Z. They're not Control Y. So they are not meant to be here. They are meant to be in this settings.py file because that's where we are going to be using the .env package. So copy this again. Same.py file to the top. Hope you're in the right place. Let me just paste this here, and then the load.env. Copy this. I could just paste this underneath it. Yep. So over here, I'm gonna say just up here. Could just come here and say open AI underscore API underscore key should be equal to, I'm going to say os dot get env. Remember our key name is called open AI underscore API underscore key. That's the key name from what we have here. Yep. So we've got that already. So we've got so let's import os on top. Sorry. So yeah, so we've got that now done. So I think we are good to go. We've configured, we've gotten our API key. It's now part of our Django project. So back to the views now. I think we can now proceed now with prompting the AI model. So right now we're going to say chat message should be equal to, we're going to say chat message. We're going to create a chat message now. I'm going to say chat message dot objects dot create. And I'm going to say dot create. Then I'm going to say the role should be equal to user. So right now we're going to say chat message dot object dot create. Role is going to be user. Then we're going to add the chat should be equal to the chat we have up this chat, and the content, these are the models here, the content should be equal to, let's go back here, should be equal to, I'm going to say content should be equal to content, right? We have content provided up here, right? It's called chat. Yeah, so we've gotten this now. That's good now. So back here, I'm going to just say open. So we've done that now. We need to get to our chat message. Remember so when a user might pass my input a prompt, that's a chat message, you understand? When the AI responds to us, is also a chat message. So I'm going to import chat message above now, right? So I'm going to say open AI underscore messages. Yeah, open AI underscore messages. So right now I want to get my last 10 chat messages. And I just call this let me just call this chats. let me call this chat messages. Chat messages. So I'm going to say chat dot. Remember, we have a related name that relates these two models, chat and chat message. The related name is called messages. So I'm going to come over here and say chat dot messages dot order by. So I'm going to get the last 10 messages, right? Dot order by the time they were created. Remember, we have this field called created at, right? This created at field, chats dot messages dot order by created. We are using this created at over here, the one in the chat message dot order by created at. So I want to get the last 10 messages. The reason is because ChatGPT always, remember, you can have a conversation with ChatGPT. It checks out what you asked it before and gives you a new answer. Right? You can always have a conversation. So we want to get the last 10 messages so we can help the AI know what we are talking about. We might want to have a full discussion. So we want to get the last 10 messages, right? So over here now, I'm going to come over here and say OpenAI underscore messages. Be just a random variable name. It's going to be equal to, it's going to be an array of chat messages. Remember, when trying to pass a prompt to OpenAI, this is how it's meant to be. It's meant to come in an array format. First of all, we are going to have the role of assistant, then the content, and then we are going to have the other messages of role user. You understand? So right now, what we are going to do is this. So I'll come over here and say, let's say for message in chat messages, chat underscore messages. So we'll add the dictionary here. I'm going to just say role should be equal to message dot role, and the content should be equal to, so it should meant to be, content is meant to be equal to message dot content, because you're meant to have the prompts in this format, right? It's meant to be in this format, so it's called message. I'm not making any mistake. I think I spelled, okay, yeah. So we've got now OpenAI messages, what we are going to pass to this place when it's time for us, what we are going to pass over here, right? So we've got that now. So I'm going to have to check for something. I'm going to say if not any, I'm going to say for message in OpenAI message, I want to make sure that at least one of the message has a rule of assistance. What I'm trying to do. So I'll say if not any, I'm going to say message, then role, message square bracket role not equal to assistant. If there is none equal to assistant, means that this is the first time the user is trying to pass a prompt. This is the first time you get. So I'm going to just say, so if in these OpenAI messages, none of it has a role of assistant, that tells you that this is the first time the user is trying to prompt the AI, is trying to make a prompt, right? So if there is none, I'm going to come over here and say OpenAI messages, OpenAI underscore messages dot insect. I'm going to insert it at the first. I'm going to make it the first message, insect 0. Yeah. Role is going to be equal to assistant, and the content, let's see, it's called content, right? The content will be called, I'll just say, you are a helpful assistant. You are a helpful assistant, right? So this is what we have to do. So we are trying to make sure that at least we have this as a first message. So again, we have to make sure we have this as the first message, you understand? So whenever a user tries to pass in a prompt, We check out all the last 10 messages, right? And then over here we check those 10 messages and see if any of it has a role of, if any of them have a role of assistant. If there is none, then we are going to insert this dictionary as the first dictionary in this list of messages in the get. So that's what we are going to do. Hope you understand. So that's done. So now it's time for us to prompt the AI model. So we can just follow this method. Just copy this response that creates. We'll copy it to this point. So back here, we're going to have our try block. Now say client.chat.completions.create. Currently we are using GPT-4 mini. That's because we're on a free plan. So this message right now, this messages now is going to be equal to OpenAI messages, right? Yes, OpenAI messages. Yep. What is going to be, and then we want to get the response return. So we're going to just copy this. So I'll come over and just say OpenAI underscore reply. OpenAI reply. This reply gets from OpenAI based on. So we're going to just say should be equal to response or choices, then index 0.messages content. So this we're going to get the reply from here. So we're going to have our accept block. I'm going to say accept. I'm going to say accept exception as E. So we're going to just return a response. Return response. We just come over here and say error. Then I'll come here and just say an error from OpenAI. Right, and then I'll just pass in the error here, which is the E, right? And then I'm going to just pass status 500. Yep. So since what we need to do, let's convert this to a string. Just passing just a string since it's better. Then I'm going to come over here and just say chat message dot objects dot create, right? So we're going to say the role is going to be equal to assistant this time because we're getting assistant, and then I'm going to say the content is going to be equal to OpenAI reply. OpenAI underscore reply. And lastly, the chat is going to be equal to chats, right? So we've gotten that. So I can now return. So right now, we can now return a response. I'm going to say return response. Return response. We just say reply is equal to what? OpenAI underscore reply. Then come over here and just say status should be equal to status underscore 201 underscore created. So it's going to be status.http rather, status.http. So we have to import status. So from REST framework, REST underscore framework import status. So now we've done this now. So it's time for us to test what we've done so far. So let's test it. Okay, now so right now let's create. So right now over here I have to add the decorator. So I'm going to say from REST framework dot decorators import API view, API underscore view. right? So we're gonna say over here, I'm gonna come over here and say at API underscore view. So it's gonna be a post request. So let's go create a URL mapping for this view. So far to the promptify underscore app, I'm gonna create a new file called urls.py. So I'm gonna say from Django .urls, I'm gonna say import paths, and from the current folder, import the views, and then I'm gonna say URL patterns should be equal to a list of paths. And I'm gonna add the first path. It's gonna be called prompt underscore GPT. And I'm gonna say the name of the views is called. I'm gonna say views.prompt underscore GPT. And then let's give it a name. I'm gonna give it a name. I'm gonna say name should be equal to prompt underscore GPT. So we've got this now. So we have to let Django. We have to let our Django project know about this file we created, the urls.py file. So come over here. Then we're going to just come here and just say include. Sorry, I'm going to add a new part. I will say include promptify underscore app. Right, .urls. So let's import include from Django.urls. Import include. So we've got this now. Yep. So let's run the server. Python -spy run server. So right now to get a, let me just say uuid.uid4 uuid.uid4. Let me just see if I can get an example. I want to try and test this with Postman. Let's see if we can test this with Postman. Just ask here, give me a sample uuid.uid4. Let's see what it gives us. Cool, we have this now. Okay, so now it's time for us to go test this with Postman. So we have our views done, right? So we have the URLs configured, prompt underscore GPT, URLs. So let's test with Postman and let's see if it works. Click on new request. Let's close some of this stuff we don't need. So over here, so I'm gonna say prompt GPT. Right, prompt GPT now. Here's the URL, the base. These are local host, and then the URL is called prompt GPT. Click on body, click on form data. So we have to pass the chat ID. Remember from the views, the chat ID and the contents. So back here, the chat ID now. I'm gonna say chat underscore ID. Remember, we got a sample UID from here. Paste this here. So as for the contents, we just pass how to become a beta developer. Right, so have to be a post request, and let's hope this works. Let's hope we get the response from the AI model. So let's see if what we've done so far is going to work. Let's see. Click on send. It returned 404 not found. URL not found. Let's see what we did in the URL. urls.py. Let me check out the other URL file. Okay, I think let's remove this from this file. Let's remove this trailing, remove that slash there. Let's try again, send. Our server is still running. So let's wait for the server to finish, to complete running. So it's not running now. Let's send again. Right now, return the server 500 error. Let's see what the problem is. Oh, I spelled something wrong, content wrong somewhere. Okay, it's called content, not, yeah, I spelled this wrongly. It's called content. So let the server run again and let's proceed. So let's try again. Click on, let's bring this a bit down. Bring this downward. So click on send. Let's hope it works this time. You have to work. Cool. You can see we got the response from the AI model. You can see we got the reply. We asked it how to become a better developer, and it's giving us. It says you can see what it gave us if we read through it. So now our configuration worked. It worked properly. So we can log in. Let's log into the backend now. I'm going to say local host port 8000 / admin. We just say cleanse, put in my credentials. So let's see the charts. You can see we got a beautiful title, improving as a developer. We got the ID. Let's see the message. So we got assistants, and we got the content that we got from the assistants. This is the response from the AI model, and this is what we asked. The role is user, right? So I can see it's making sense. It's beautiful. I'm making huge progress. So what did we do? Let me just go through it again. So first of all, we had to prompt the AI model to give us a title based on what we asked, how this view is doing. So right now, what we are doing is that we are trying to create a response. We're trying to get a response from the AI based on what we asked it, based on what we prompted, right? So we have to make sure that the user provides a chat ID and the content. The content is the prompt. The content is the prompt. You understand? The user imputes. At the chat ID, we are going to find. I'm going to show you how we are going to generate the chat ID from the front end, right? So now we create our charts. Right now, we create our charts, and then we update the title based on the response we get from this function. Then we get it saved. Then we create our chat message. We can just simply just say chat message and say, yeah. Then we create our chat message now, one with the role of user. This chat message is the prompt the user imputed. So we've done that now. Then we get the last 10 chat messages. We get the last 10 chat messages. The reason is because ChatGPT works. You can have a conversation with ChatGPT. So it has to know what you were talking about previously. That's why we had to get the chat messages. The last 10. The last 10 chat messages. So then we created a new array, and then we looped through the chat messages because ChatGPT needs you to pass the prompt in this format, an array of objects, and those objects must contain two properties, the role and the contents. So you have to loop through our chat messages and then pass out the role and the contents in a dictionary like this instead of an array, instead of a list. That's how the AI model wants the prompts to come to it. So now we have to now check these AI messages to check if there is one with a role of, if there is, right now we have to now check the OpenAI messages to check if there is any of the message that comes with a role of assistant. If none of them has a role of assistant, we are going to add the assistant role by ourselves. We are going to add the assistant role by ourselves. And I'm going to give it a content you are helpful assistant. And then we can now prompt the AI model. Currently, we are using GPT-4 4.0 mini. That's because we're on a free plan. So we pass in the model, we pass in the messages. That should be an array of messages, right? And then we get our response. right? Which is what we got in which is what we have over here, right? And what do we do? So we check out for an error. If there's any error, we're going to return the error message, and then we create up a new chat message. But this time, the role has to be assistant, and the content has to be the content we got from has to be the response we got from prompting the AI model, which is this. Sorry, and the chat has to be this chat we got up here, right? And then we return a response. We return the response, the reply. We return a response with the key of reply, and the actual value is the OpenAI reply we got here, and a status of 201 created. So that's how it's done. So we think we've made each progress now. So right now, let's go configure Django course on our project. Django course. Let's configure Django course. Django course helps us connect our backend to a front end. You understand? So remember, this is a React and Django. This is a React and Django application. So I'm going to say Django course, right? So let's get it and let's get it up. So let's use this Stack.org. Stack.org they have an excellent guide on how to. They have an excellent guide on Django course. So let's configure course for our project. So you have to install this command. Pip install Django course headers. Head over to your project now. I'm going to break the terminal. Ctrl C to break out. So paste the command. Hit enter. So up next, you have to add course headers to our installed apps. Ctrl Z. So you add course headers to your installed apps, and then we have to add this course header middleware just above the common middleware. So that's our middleware now. Above the common middleware, we have to add the course headers middleware. And we have to also add this allowed origins. So over here, I'm going to allow all my front end URLs, and they are basically, let me just say localhost 5173. That's what the React URLs are. 5173. I'm going to add another one again, 5174. Let's add 5174 here. And let's add one more, 5175. So now we've configured. Right now the backend is working. So now it's time for us to go integrate React and Django. The backend is built up. So now the front end is still static. It can't work. It's still just static, right? So it's time for us to now integrate React and Django to make this a full working ChatGPT clone. So but ours is called Promptify. So let's work on that next. Okay, so right now I think it's time for us to integrate the backend and the front end. You get so already built up the API. So we have the what was it? Let me open it. I think we have our front end here. It's still dummy, so it's time for us to make it interactive. So right now, so let's see. Over to the API now. So to send right now, we have to send a post request to this URL. It's called prompt underscore GPT, right? And to pass a post request to the URL, you have to let me open this function. Let's go over to the views.py file. You have to pass the chat ID and the contents, right? So those are the two things you need to pass. So back here to the front end, to make our request, we have to install a package called Axios. So I'm going to say npm install Axios, right? So and then once that's done, back here I'm going to create a new file where we are going to create all our API functions. So the file is going to be it's going to be inside of the lib folder. I'm going to create a file called api.tx. API.tx. So now, yep. So right now we're going to simply import Axios. Axios is currently getting installed. Import Axios from Axios, and right now I'm going to say const API should be equal to Axios dot create. Then we are going to have the base URL dot create. I'll say base URL should be equal to, that's going to be equal to, our backend URL is currently on port 8000. Let me see what it is. Or I can just simply, let's create a new command prompt. I'm going to say Python manage.py run server. So we are currently on port 8000. So let's wait for that. Okay, now port 8000. So back to the front end now. I'm going to create a new, I'm going to call this const, I'm going to call it base URL. Base underscore URL should be equal to HTTP, then 127.0.0.1, then port 8000. Right, so our base URL. So right now we're gonna have that here, base underscore URL. Yep, so we've got that already. Yeah, we've got that now. So what's the next thing now? So I'm gonna say const the function. No, I want to write right now. I want to write the API function that's gonna send a post. That's gonna send a post request to this endpoint prompt GPT. Right. So let's write that quickly. So back here, I'm gonna say function export function, but I'm gonna say prompt underscore GPT. So you're going to be passing an object, right? And I'm going to call that object data. It's going to be of type. So remember, we are passing the chat ID. The chat ID is of type string. Hope you understand. Is of chat underscore ID is of type string. We're also going to be passing the contents, which is also of type string. You understand? So you're going to you're going to be passing this data. This data is an object. So right now, I just showed down the type of the object. The object contains two properties: the chat ID and the content. So you come back to the backend now, you can see what I'm saying. The chat ID and the content, and these are both string values, right? That's what we are doing over here on the front end. So right now, I'm going to come over here and say, put in the try block, and I'll say const response should be equal to, so this has to be an asynchronous function, so you have to add a sync in front. So I'm going to say const response should be equal to await API dot posts. So the URL is called, the backend URL we want to send to is called prompt underscore GPT, right? Prompt, let me add this first, prompt underscore GPT, and we have to pass in the data as the object, right? I'm going to pass in this data up here, right? And then we're going to simply just return response.data. And as for the catch block, you're going to have an error of type unknown. So we're going to say if error instance of, if the error is an instance of an actual error, I want to simply throw, my PC is down. Let me just plug it in. I'm going to say throw new error. Now say error.message. Else you're going to just throw a normal error. I'm going to say throw new error. I'll say an unknown error occurred. An unknown error occurred, right? So yes, so now we've written the function that's going to help us send a post request to the backend. So now it's time to call this function, and we are going to be using React query to make our API calls. So let's go work on that next. Okay, so before we go configure React query for this project, back to the home page. That should be in pages. So let me just cover all the let me just explain what's going to happen now. So right now we are going to be so okay back. So what is going to happen is this now. When the user comes over here, let me explain. When the user comes over here and then send a message, right? So this is what is meant to happen first. So here's the function that handles that. When the user, so you must make sure first of all we have to make sure the user inputs the text into the search field. If you input nothing, if there is no text imputed there, and you try sending the function and you try submitting the form, nothing will happen because of this return statement. So you must have to input a text into the search bar, right? And over here now, what we are doing is we are checking if the path's name we are currently on the home we are currently on the home part, right? So we are saying if the path name if your current this checks now if your current URL is the home part, the home that is the home part, like if you're currently on the home page based on this slash, or if the path name is saying is currently on chats slash new, you want to navigate to chats, then the chat ID. So that's not being the URLs. Let me show you. Go back to the app.cxs file. So over here now, I'm going to add a new route, paste that route here. I'm going to say paths should be equal to, I'm going to say chats, then chats underscore UID, right? So right now, this chat underscore UID is going to be is a dynamic value based because of this colon we have here. This is a dynamic value, right? But it still leads to this same own. It still leads to the home page. So chat underscore UID is this chat underscore UID is a dynamic value that is prone to change, right? It is not static, right? So now, okay, back to the home page. Where are you home page? Check the pages folder. So we are back here now. So that dynamic value we have there, that dynamic value we did there, we are gonna have access to it here. We're gonna call it. Remember the name. What I called it here is chats underscore UID. It must have that same name here. So we are going to access the dynamic value using use params, right? So and I'm going to call this chat ID. Let me change the names of this chat ID, and I'm going to say set chat ID. The value is going to be an empty string by default, right? So now we've got our chat UID. Our chat UID will be gotten from the URLs, right? So yeah, so as I was saying before now, so I said if you are currently on the home page and you submit the chat and you try making a prompt, you try prompting the AI, you want to get redirected. You want to get redirected to chats to this. We want to get redirected to this URL that we have here, right? This URL. So how do we do that now? So over here, we're going to come back here. I'm going to say navigate to chats. Then we're going to use it. And then we're going to use the template. We're going to use the template literals. We're going to navigate to, and then we're going to navigate to this value to chat ID up here. So we are going to we are going to navigate to this value, right? So back here now, I want to do something. Remember that before you make a post request to the backend, you must provide the chat ID and the contents, right? So let's work on that now. So this input field we have here, this input state is the content. Let me just paste. Let me bring it to the top of the page. Yes, it be, yeah. So this input is the content, is the content. So here's our messages now. So by default, the messages as a single, it has what a single it for by default the role is assistant and the content is saying welcome, I am here to assist you. Good, right? That's okay. So whenever we send now, so here's what's gonna happen. So now, whenever we input something into this field and we click on send, want to update the messages states, want to update it, right? Want to add a new input to this list, to this array of messages, right? And if you come over here, we do something like that. So over here, I'm going to remove this dummy reply. I'm going to remove the dummy reply. We don't need it. Also, this line we don't need it. So whenever a user inputs a text into the search field into the field and then clicks on send, we want to update messages based on what the user imputed. So right now that's what we are doing over here. So we got the messages now. We are trying to update it, right? So we got the current value of message. We got the current value of messages. We got it right. The current value of messages. We have to spread out the value. Remember, it is an array of objects. So we have to spread out all the items inside of the array inside a new array. And then we added the new message. And then we added the new message, right? This is a new message. The new message has a role of user, and the content is the value of input. And input is gotten from this search field, from this field here, right? I really hope you guys are getting what I'm saying. So that also we had to update it, right? And as we updated the messages, as we're updating it now, so we have to also remove this welcome, I am here to assist you, right? We have to remove it because currently you can see it shows up here. It's meant to show there when there is nothing. Then when you this message, well, we are meant to have this message up here when a user has not yet sent a prompt. For example, I can just say I need the sum of, let's say, two. I need the sum of 2 and 3, right? If I send this now, this is meant to replace this. You're not meant to see this again. So, you throw an error. We're going to get back to that. So let's see what the error says. Inspect. It says no route matched location. Okay, that's true. Before okay, no route matched location. We are getting there very soon. We're getting there soon. It's complete because of this chat ID. Because currently our chat ID is currently an empty string, right? Right now, what I was trying to explain to you is this now. So whenever a user tries to impute a new prompt, we have to remove that dummy prompt, the dummy message we have up there. We have to remove it. Hope you understand. So let me just clear out this. We have to simply remove the dummy message. That was so I have to filter out the dummy message because we don't need the dummy message again. That's why I have to filter it. So and once the user, yeah, so right, and then we have to set input to an empty string, right? So we have to get this field, we have to get the field empty again. So now it's time for us to implement what I've been saying so far. So right now, this chat ID now has to have a value. This chat ID up here, it's currently it's an empty string, so it needs to get a value. How do we get a value for it? So I'm going to say when the page renders, that's use effect. I'm going to say use effect. When the page renders the first time, so we want to check and see. We want to say if when the page renders the first, I want to check out for the value of chat underscore UID because we're going to get this value from the browser. So I'm going to say if chat underscore UID, right? If it has a value, we're going to say set chat ID to chat underscore UID, right? Else want to give chat ID I'm gonna say else set chat ID to crypto. I'm gonna say crypto.random UID, right? So we have to pass chat UID as a dependency to this array. So when the page follow for renders, we're going to check if chat UID has a value. We want to update this chat ID to the value we have here, to the value for chat UID, because chat UID is going to be a dynamic value gotten from the URL, right? And then else, if chat UID does not have a value, we're going to then use a random UID. You understand? So that's what's happening here. So right now, I could just come over here and say, yeah, so that's done now. So back to the back here. Um, let's refresh the page. What was this error now? Oh, I think I'm having. Okay, I think I forgot to add passing the. Yeah, I have to add this curly braces. Is a function that should work now. So now if I say, hey, you can just say, hey, I need. Let me just say 10 10 programming ideas just from random thing. You can see now it has replaced the dummy. It's right now we have removed the dummy message we have up there. The welcome I am here to assist you. It has been removed, right? It has been replaced with this new prompt we passed in. That's how it's meant to be, right? You can see now we are now redirected to now. You can see up here we are now redirected to chats, then a random UUID. Understand? So when we are so now when so when trying to send a post request, we're going to get this. We're going to get this chat ID from up here, right? And then we are going to simply get this the value in this field, right, to send a post request. So and this chat ID we have up here is what we have here. It's this chat ID you get here. It's this chat ID you get here. This chat ID. You understand? So that's what we have over there. So you might be wondering what is the value of this chat UID? This chat UID is also referring to this. It's also referring to this same value up here. You understand? So let's say user comes here, sends a request, and you refresh the page. If you refresh the page, you're still going to have this value up here, and this value you have up here is now referring to this chat UID because it's coming from the use params, right? That's what it means. Hope you understand. So now we've gotten our chat ID. Now we've gotten the what's the what we've gotten our input, which is the value you imputed here. So it's time for us to send a post request in real time to the backend. And I told you we are going to be using React query. So let's work on that next. Okay, so right now let's install React query into the project, right? So over to your browser, you're gonna look up Tanstack React query. It's called Tanstack. Just search tanstack.com, right? Okay, so look up Tanstack query on the sidebar, click on Tanstack query. So yeah, so we're here now. I think we need to read the docs. So read the docs now. Yeah, so right now we're going to simply want to make our post request, want to make our get request using React query. React query is beautiful, it's awesome, it supports kitchen under it supports kitchen by default, so we don't have to always make a new request. If you know if we use effects, whenever we want to make it, we are always going to keep making request upon request upon request. But with React query, you don't have to always make a request. The most times the responses are being cached and it provides a great user experience for the users. So that's why I want to stick with it, right? That's why I'm going to use it. So if you don't know how to use React query, it's not that difficult. Just follow me. Just follow me as I implement it. So first thing, we have to install it. So click on installation. So we have to install it now. Here's the npm command. So just copy it to our project. So let me just take this guy up a bit, paste and hit enter. So while it is installing now, let's see how to. So click on quick start. Let's just configure it quickly into our project. So just copy this now. Copy this. Cons query client is equal to new query client. Copy. So you're going to go over to our main.cxs file. Main.cxs, and I'll paste that line here. So you have to also import query client. Click on it and hold down control and period. Let's see. It was not suggested for us. Okay, we have to also wrap our code with this tag. So over here, we're going to wrap what we've got here. It has to be wrapped. So you have to say client should be equal to query clients. Copy this. So this query client you see up here, this query client you see here is coming from here. So you have to import this query client and this query client provider, and they are both coming from Stack React query, right? So back here, they are both coming from Stack React query. I'm gonna say, let me just copy this, Ctrl C. I'll say import, and then import the provider also. Yeah, so we've got that now. We've got React query configured into our project, right? So it's high time we go use it now. So right now we are trying to make a post request. So when trying to make so over here, making a post request is what we call mutation. It's what we call mutation over here, and these are how they are. These are how mutations are called. These how they are called, right? So right now, let's do that. So I'm just gonna copy some of this. Just copy this. So if you're making a get request, you're gonna use queries. But since you're making a post request, you're going to use mutation. I'll copy this back to our home page.cxs. Back here. Where are you? Show yourself. Looking for the best place to just space this function. So now you have to import use mutation from React query. Click on it and hold down Control and period. You can see add import from Stack React query. So it's called mutation now. So I'm going to remove this unsuccess part for now. We'll get back to it. So next. So now, right now, what is this? Right now, this is asking for our mutation function. So currently, our mutation function is called prompt GPT. So I'll copy prompt GPT from here, copy, and then replace what we have here with the mutation function. So remember, we have to import prompt GPT. We have to import it from the API.txt file. So click on it, hold down Control and period to import prompt GPT. It's a function from the API.txt file. So use mutation always wants a function that returns a promise. So whenever I use async await always returns a promise. So right now we're using use mutation. It always works with functions that returns a promise, right? So now we got our mutation, we've got this now. So we're going to say, so if this is successful, we're going to say unsuccess. If it is successful, what do you want to do? So we want to get the response that is gotten. We want to get the response that is returned, the response that has been returned, right? And then we are going to simply, it's called unsuccess, not unsuccess. I want to get the response that is being returned. I want to simply update messages. I'm going to say set messages. So I'm going to get the current value of messages. We're going to create a new array, right? We're going to spread out the current value of messages. We're going to spread out triple dots. And then we're going to add the new message that we are going to return the response from the AI. Because right now we are getting our response from the AI. So I'm going to say response dots. I think I call it response or reply. Right, so I'm not sure of this yet. I could just say console.log response to know what the response looks like. Console.log response. So now we are going to call this now. So this is how we do it now. So we have to call this function called mutation. So we are going to call this function over here. We're going to call the function in this undo send. Remember, this undo send function is called when the form is submitted. So I'm going to call the function just before this set input. So we're going to say mutation.mutate. Remember that our prompt GPT function, this prompt GPT, expects us to pass in two values, the chat ID and the contents. It expects an object, the chat ID and the content, right? So how do we pass that over here? We have to pass in. Remember, we have the chat ID over here. I could just come over here and just say, here's it. I'll come over here and just say chat underscore ID should be equal to chat ID, and the content should be equal to input. So that's how it's meant to be, right? So that's it. So it's time for us to call. It's time for us to see if this will actually work, right? So let's do that right away to the browser. Let me open down my command prompt. I could just say, let me just ask. I want to ask ChatGPT the top 10. Let me ask ChatGPT who is the greatest of all time, right? Who is the greatest? Who is the greatest footballer of all time? Who is the greatest footballer of all time? Sorry, I'm a Lionel Messi fan. I love Lionel Messi, right? Who is the greatest footballer of all time? Ronaldo is a great player too, but I think I just love Messi. Who is the greatest footballer of all time? I respect Ronaldo a lot. His work ethics are amazing. His work ethics, they're over the moon. But Lionel Messi, it's my heart, right? So let's see. Send. Hopefully this works. So we're expecting a response. You can see we got the response here. We got the response over here, but I expected it to give me. I expect it to okay, we got it here. Yeah, you can see we got the object. Yeah, perfect. You can see now it got consoled out for us. I asked who is the greatest footballer of all time. I can see we got the response over here. So we have to. So here's the entire. The response is the entire object. So what we need is this reply. The value of the reply is this text you see here. Is this text you see over here, right? So over here, what do we do? And I'll come back here now, and I'll say, come back here. I have to update messages. I have to update it, right? I'm going to say update. So, okay, this is how we do it. I just remembered. So you have to pass in a new object, right? Remember the role is called, you have to pass in the role of assistant. And the content has to be this. This is how it's meant to be. If you check closely, these are it has always been role and then the contents. And yeah, let's try again now. Remember, let's try again now. So right now we do this approach now. We are going to see an ob. So now, okay, we check closely now. We said if the so right now we are over here. We are looping through the messages, right? So we're looping through all the messages, right? So we are checking if the user role is user, if the message role is user, we are going to display the message in a normal div. In a normal div like this, normal div. This right now, this message you have here has a role of user because this is a user that imputed that passed this prompt. So the response you get it's going to be coming from the AI model, and the role is going to be called assistant. So right now, if the role is of type assistant, it's going to be rendered in a markdown. That's because sometimes we are going to get the values formatted. We are going to have it bolded. We are going to have it underlined sometimes. We are going to have some numberings. So for that to properly get rendered, we have to use React Markdown. So React Markdown was good enough, super good enough. But sometimes you might want to render out code snippets. Sometimes you might want to render out code snippets like code, JavaScript code, Python code we now have to add these components to the React Markdown to support code snippets. But without code snippets, React Markdown is good enough. It gives you the output is beautiful, right? So now, right now, I'm going to come over here. Okay, we've got this now. I think let me refresh the page and start over. Let's start again. Might just clear out this. So now let's look. Let's see. Let's just watch now. I'm going to say top 10 programming languages. I'm going to just say list out top 10. List out top 10 programming languages with emojis. Let's see. List out top 10 programming languages with emojis. Top 10 programming. List out top 10. Okay, send. Let's see. So I'm going to add the loading effects now to show that something is actually going on, because currently now you cannot see. You can see what it gives us. It gives us the top 10 programming languages now with emojis, right? You can see it's all listed here. If you check out the console, I think we should add that in the console. Perfect. You can see what it looks like in the console. Let me just show this to you. You can see the console. You can see how it is on the console, right? Right, so you can see it's not looking that good. But with React Markdown is able to make it look properly arranged, right? So that's perfect. That's great, right? So now one more thing. Let's add a loading effect to this. So back here, I'm going to create a new component called typing loader. Let me just call it. I'm going to create a new. I'm going to call it typing loader.txx. So now just say paste this. I'll paste this code inside it. Cool. So back to the home page now. I'll come down here. So right now when it's trying to when we are trying to get when the API request is ongoing, we have to check. We have to add a loader. We have to add a loading event, and that's where this mutation can also help with that, right? So over here, I'll come over here and just say, just above this bottom ref, I'm going to just say mutation. If mutation dot is pending, if mutation dot is pending is equal to true, we want to just display the typing loader components. So that's what it is. So what you have here, this div bottom ref helps us to scroll down whenever we make a prompt. Whenever we prompt the AI, it helps with a scroll effect that goes down. That's it. Is it over here? So it helps with that. So you don't have to be scrolling down by yourself. Whenever you make a prompt, it scrolls down for you. It's because of this what we have here, and what we also have here. This div bottom ref, right? So now let's try again. So we've got list out top 10 programming languages with emojis. I will now ask it now which of them is suitable for beginners, which of them is suitable for beginners. So let's see if the AI model can remember what we are talking about, because currently I'm trying to have a conversation with it, right? So I'm asking which of them is suitable for beginners. Let's send. You can see we have the loading effect now. It's trying to load up now. So I'm asking, I hope it understands. I hope it's okay. You can see now it says among the top 10 languages listed, the following are generally considered to be the most suitable for beginners. You can see it's understood that I was referring to this topic. It understood, right? That was why I said that we had to get the last 10 messages over here. The last 10 messages. Yeah, so the AI can understand the context of what we are talking about. We got the last 10 messages, you understand? So you can see now it is working. It is working, right? So you can see now we are able to prompt it, but we are not done. So if I refresh the page, let's see what happens. If I refresh the page, You can see everything is lost again. It is lost, right? But it's not meant to be so. So right now we are going to work on that next. Okay, so we are back again, and then this. So right now I want to work on whenever the page is being refreshed, we don't want to lose our data. You get so. For example, now I'm going to ask a question. Let's just say, how do I how do I make it as a developer without a job? Let's ask this question. If you don't have a real-time job, so how do you also make it as a developer? So I want to ask the AI. So click on send. So now it's currently loading. So if you get our response and I refresh the page, we are very, very likely to lose the data on the screen. So I want to prevent this from happening. So how do we prevent losing our data whenever the page gets reloaded or refreshed? So we are going to work on that right now. So let's get our response. I really hope there's not going to be any problem. Okay. Wow. So you can see now it gives us some options on how you can get a job as a developer and how to make it as a developer without having a traditional job. So it gave us some response. But once I refresh this page, we are going to lose this information. So we want to avoid this from happening. So back to my code now. Back to my backend API. So I already wrote a simple get request function. So what's happening here is now I'm getting. So right now I'm going to pass the chat ID. So I'm going to get the chat by its ID. I'll get the chat by its ID, right? Which I'm doing here. And once I've done that, I'm going to get all the messages to that chat. I'm going to get all the messages related to the chat. So if you check our messages.py file, you can see now the chats and the chat messages are both linked through this related name called messages. That was why I was able to say chat.messages.all. And here's the serializer, chat message serializer. So right now, how to serialize this and they return a response. But right now, our chat message, for example, the messages are all they are. Remember, these are they have it's a dictionary that contains two properties: the role and the content. Right now, our serializer, for if you come over and look at our serializer is quite different. Let me open it. It contains the ID, the role, the content, and created art. But we only need these two fields, the role and content. So I just copy this, comment it out, and then paste it here. Right now, I'm going to remove these other two fields, the ID and the role. I don't need them. I need it to be in the exact format it should be, which is the role and the contents. Right, so we are getting all the messages. For example, on this page, we are getting all the messages related to this chat, related to this ID up here. Right, so whenever we refresh our page, we don't get to lose what is on the so that we don't get to lose what's on the screen whenever the page gets refreshed. So that's what we have to do now. So I've got this ready. So we have the let me see, we have the URLs already. Okay, I don't have the URLs now. Let me just work on the URLs. It's called chat messages back here. I'll add a new, I'm gonna say parts. Put that in there and I'll say views dot chat messages. Name should be equal to. So you check closely now. The chat messages requires a primary key and it is a string, right? Our primary key from what we have here is a string. This is a string value, right? So back here, I'll come here. I'm going to say XTR then PK. So the PK we have here is coming from the views, this PK. So we've got our URLs done. So now back to our front end. Okay, so back to the front end. I'm going to write, okay, over to our API.txt file. Where is it? So we have to write an API function to make a get request to the URL we just created. So let's work on that now. So now we're going to work on the function. I'm going to come over here and say export async. Now say function. I'm going to say get chat messages. So we're going to be expecting a primary key. Or we're call it chat ID. It's going to be it's of type string, Right, I'm going to have the try block, and I'll say const response should be equal to, I'm going to say await API dot get. I'm making any mistake. So here's the URL. Back here. Copy this. So we have to also add the primary key, and this what we have here, what we have up here represents the primary key. So over here, I'm going to use the template literals, and I'll pass in the chat ID. Right, so I'm going to say return response dot data, return response dot data. Yep. So now, then I'm going to just have the catch block. I'll copy what we have up here, and then paste it. So we've got our function ready. Get chat messages, right? So now we're going to come over to the home page and call this function. I just feel that the page might just refresh, and okay, it's still there. So let's call the function. So we're going to use React query one more time. So we're going to use it differently this time around. So we're going to be using what we call use query, right? So previously we used use mutation. That's because we need to make a post request. But now we are trying to make a get request. We're going to use query. So now I'm going to just copy this, right? And I'll come over here. I'll just paste it here. So use query. Let's import it. Click on. I'm just say const. Let's just say const query. So now let's import use query from React query. Click on it. Go down control and period from task. So you have to import this from stack React query. So right, I'm going to call this. This has to have this query key has to be a unique value. So I'm going to call this chat messages. And currently we are using we have to get the messages based on a value. So we have to understand we have to get the messages based on a value, this chat ID you get. So what do we do now? So back here I have to pass. So currently we have the chat ID up here, this chat ID. I could just copy this, right? Paste that here. So I'm going to call the function. Our function is called get chat messages, and this is it over here. Come over here, and then replace what we have here. Paste this, and then put in the chat ID there also. So I'm going to have to import this. Click on it, hold down the control and period, and I'm going to pass in the chat ID there also. I just hope there is no mistake on my end. Let me just Control X. I think this should this be a semicolon, or should I remove what's there? Let me see what they did let me see what they did here. It's a comma. So back here. Okay, so this has to be because of this chat ID, because of we are calling the function straight away, we have to make it like this. Something like this. Something like this, right? Just like an arrow function. That's because we are calling the function straight away. So it has to be like this. So I'm going to destructure right now. I'm going to destructure this value. I'll destructure it. We check closely. From what we have here, this can be destructured. Instead, let me show you. Let me give you what I mean. What I meant. Because this is an object. Let me see if I have. Let me see if I can show you an example. What we have here is an object. It contains some keys. Like, let me just proceed. So this is an object. So I'm going to destructure it now. It contains properties like is spending. Let me say is error, and also data, right? So data is the actual response we get whenever this function is called, right? So right now I'm going to rename data. I'm going to say chat data. I can call this chat error. I can just rename it because we're going to have several use queries. So to avoid a name clash, I'm just going to rename them. I'm going to call this chat pending, right? So we've got this already. Perfect. So now, what's this? Then right, let's console.log. I'm going to say console.log. Console.log. Just say chat data. Let me just say it looks like chat data, right? So let's see what it looks like. So the browser, I just oh, the page has been reloaded. That's fine. So now we're going to just go down to inspect. So yeah, to the console. Let me just close this. Refresh the page. Let's see. Currently, charge data is currently undefined. I think this is returning a fall for request. Like the URL is not correct. That's a complaint it's making. The URL is not correct. But let's see what I did. If I didn't make any mistake. Let me see the API. Let me check here. It looks correct to me, but I don't know why it's not working. Get chat messages. Okay, now it seems to start working. I did nothing. Only has to copy this URL train the error, copy it, and then add paste it in my browser. And I came out to the page and it started working. I copied this and pasted it in the browser. I got my response right. So on getting back here, so the URL started working. So you can see now I have my chat data. You can see I have it right, just the way it has to be. So now what we're gonna do back here. So we got our chat data, which is this. Cool. So I'm gonna use a use effect. So right now I have to update. I have to update this. I have to update this set messages, right? So back here. So back here, I'm gonna use a use effect just here. So let's do that. So I'm gonna say if I'll say if chat ID, what we have up here, this chat ID, if it exists, if it has a value. So I'll say if chat ID, I'm gonna say set messages to chat data. This is chat data up here. Paste that here. Right, and I'm saying this use effect should always run whenever this value changes. So I'm gonna copy this and add here. So the use effect is always going to get triggered whenever the chat ID changes. Right? So okay, it is also same if you're passing chat data. So let's also add in chat data to the let's also add in chat data here. So now it's perfect now. So if I refresh the page now, we're going to get our data back. Perfect. You can see now our data is now back. So refreshing is not going to make us lose what we've got. Refreshing once we got an error. What's the problem? Messages is undefined. Okay, I think I made a mistake somewhere. So back here, let's comment this out. Let's see what chat data returns for us. Chat data returns an array, right? An array of objects. So chat data returns an array of objects, and the array of objects, from what we have here, the object consists of two fields, the role and the content. If you back to our messages now, what we are expecting is an array of back here, back to the home page. our chat messages, our messages are simply role and content, an array of role and content. That's the same thing I'm trying to do here. Set messages to chat data. Chat data is an array of. If I refresh this, let's see what it looks like again. It's an array of objects, the perfect object. So let's try. Let's go back to the code now. Simply uncomment this. If chat ID. I think um let's see again if it refresh the page, the error occurs. We have to try something else. It says can't accept. Okay, you can see now. For a while, chat. Okay, this was happening here. Okay, I get. So chat data is gonna be undefined first before it gets an actual value. So you cannot map through undefined. You cannot say undefined dot map. That's what it's complaining. You can't say that, right? So I'm going to come over here and say, so before I update this state, I have to also check if chat data. If I'm also going to put this here, right? Yep. Yeah, this should work now. I have to add that there too. So make sure that chat data is an actual value before you update the messages state, right? So if I refresh the page, so let's see what we get back. Perfect. So it's returning properly now. So refreshing the page won't make you lose what you've done, right? I can even proceed to asking it that which of this is easy for me to do, which of these tasks, which of these options is easier to do. I hope it's let's go. So let's hope it gets a good response. So it's loading, it's gonna take quite some time. Okay, now it's give us a response. That's good. Perfect, right? So now what next? Now, so right let's work on listing out the charts on the sidebar. So once we have our recent chart, that's the chart that falls today. Once we have chart of yesterday, once we have chart from the last 7 days. So now let's work on that next. So now to fetch our chart, what are we gonna do? Back to the views.py file. So we have to I'm gonna paste this on top here. So we have the one for we have the now, we have today, we have yesterday, we also have 7 days ago, 3 days ago, right? So I'm gonna get the charts based off today, yesterday, 7 days ago, maybe as well as 30 days ago, right? But right now, so we have to import time zones. So I'm gonna say from Django.utils, from Django.utils, import time zone. We also have to import time delta. That's gonna be from date time, import time delta. Okay, that's good. So right now I'm going to get the chart now. So I'm going to come over here. Let's copy this. So I'm going to say today's charts. So I'm going to say charts should be equal to charts. What's the model name again? Model is called chart, right? Should be equal to chart.objects dot filter created underscore art. Let me see the field is called created art, right? Created underscore art on underscore dates is equal to today. We have today up here equal to today, right? today. So I'm going to just say serializer should be equal to, I'm going to say, let's see what it's called. It's called chat serializer. Just copy this. Now passing the chats. Let's say many should be equal to true. I'm going to say return response. I'll say serializer.data. So right now we are going to simply come over here. So we're going to let's do the same for yesterday chats. So let's import chat serializer. Hold down control and period. Hit enter to import it. So let's do the same thing for yesterday's chat. I'll just paste this here. I'll call this yesterday's chats. Yesterday's chats. We're going to filter by yesterday. Remember we have this variable up here called yesterday, right? So it's meant to be days equal to 2. So yesterday has to be days 1. Understand? To get yesterday, it has to be just subtracting a day from today, right? So we are good to go. So that's why I think yesterday is done. Let's try 7 days ago. Yesterday's charts, right? This has to be yesterday. As for 7 days ago, let's just add that. Call this 7 days charts. Just say 7 days charts. So this has to be, I'm going to say charts. We're going to filter by created ads. I'm going to say it has to be less than yesterday. Also has to be less than today. Right? Also has to be less than today. And we have to say greater than or equal to. I'm going to say charts. I'm going to say created underscore ads on the underscore double underscore now. It has to be greater than or equal to 7 days ago. Let me see how it is spelled. 7 days ago, right? Copy, bring this here. So I hope this works. So we've got this now. So right, let's go work on the URLs for each of them. Let me just split my screen. So for, I want to say paths. For today's charts, just copy this. Now say views dot today's charts. And name is going to be equal to today's chart, right? The same thing for yesterday's charts. Now see views, put in the / there. Now say views dot yesterday's charts, and the name is going to be equal to yesterday's charts. And lastly, for 7 days charts, you can go ahead and add for the previous 30 days if you want to. So let me add for the 7 days charts. Now say views dot 7 days chart, and the name is going to be equal to this. Cool. So we've gotten this already. So what's the next step? So the next phase is for us to go create our API functions to consume these 3 views. We're going to work on that next. Okay, so right now I can see I notice an error here. There's an error over here. So right now there is no need for today. There's no need for this. Right. So let me just remove today from there. There's no need for it. So I think yesterday is just fine. So I hope the error disappears. So back to let's make the API calls. So I'll come back here. Let's get our today's charts over here. So I'm going to say export async function. I'm going to say get today's charts, get today's charts. So we're going to then, as usual, the try block. I'm going to say const response should be equal to await api.get. Here's the URL. Let's get it. It's called today's chat. Paste that here. I'm going to return the response. I'm going to say return response dot data. For the catch block, just copy this for the catch block. So just duplicate this for the other. It's going to be called yesterday's chats. Yesterday's chats. So it's going to be called, let's get the URL. It's called yesterday's chats. So just copy this for the 7 days charts. Get 7 days charts. So let me just copy the URL from here. So we've got our 3 charts now. So what's the next phase? So we're going to go over to our sidebar. So let's get the sidebar. So it's called app sidebar. So yep, so now over here we have to work on, let's work on that now. So we have this states called recent charts, yesterday's charts. Okay, that's good. Let's proceed. So now let's proceed. So I'm going to declare some states. Now I'm going to call the state recent charts. Let's work on, let's declare our state right away. Okay, so I see what's going on here. Okay, so right now I'm going to just paste this icon here. Okay, let's just declare our state first. Back here, just comment this out. And I'll say const recent charts. Let me just call it today's. Let's call it recent chart. That's for today's charts. Now say set recent charts. It's gonna be equal to use states. It's gonna be an empty array, right? So let's import use states. Click on use states, hold down control and period to get use state imported. Control period. Don't waste my time. Yeah, from React import use states. So right now we're going to use query. We're going to use just query one more time. I'll just copy. Let me see if I can copy something I can use. Just copy this for speed. Oh, so it's not imported words. Use states. Though I imported you. But why this line? Okay, it has to be inside here. Let me paste what I copied. And then this has to fall inside here. So let's import use query. Click on it, hold down control and period. Control and period. So let's do, right now we are going to destructure this. I'm going to just say is pending, is error. Now say data. So I have to rename data to today's data. Today's data. Right. So now that's good. So right now I'm going to say use. So our query key is going to be, let me just say today's charts. Today's charts. And the function is going to be called get today's charts. Remember, we declared the function in our API.txt file. The function is called get today's charts. So we've got this already. For now, let's remove his pending and his error because we're not using them. Let's just remove it. Let me save my work to format it. I just feel I'm making a mistake. Okay, it's back. Yeah, so that's it. So back here, okay, this icon is, I'm going to make this icon a static value, a static icon, because it's coming from this recent charts that was declared up here, right? So copy this and then I'll put in the icon here. It should be here, even as well as for this one. So we, and also here. So back to the top. So now we've got today's data, right? So I'm gonna do a use right now. Let's add our use effects. Use effects, right? Back here, I'm gonna say if today's data has a value, I want to simply update recent charts. I'm gonna say set recent charts. Set recent charts to today's data. To today's data. So we have to pass today's data as a dependency to this array. Certainty should work. Remember, our our today's data is going to look like, it's going to be an array that looks like this. Let me show you from the API, from our backend. It's going to have the ID, the title, and the created art, and that's what we need, right? We don't need the created art, but it's fine. We have to list out all the fields here. So back here, so back there now, so we're gonna map through. We're gonna look, so right now in the recent charts region, so we have to loop through it, right? We have to map through it. Now this is a TypeScript problem. So let's just declare the type over here. I could just come over here and just say interface. Let me just say today's charts. Today's charts. This is a type. So it has an ID which is a string. The ID is a string. It has a title which is a string. And it also has created art which is also a string. Let me call it iCharts instead of today's charts. iCharts. So copy, and then over here I have to give recent charts a type to avoid this error we are having here. So we have to give these charts. We have to let TypeScript know what type is this. So over here, I'll just add that there. It's called iCharts, right? iCharts. With iChart now, these red lines are going to disappear. The key is meant to be chat.id. Thanks to TypeScript, we have auto suggestion, and the URL is meant to point to. Let me show you. It's meant to point to chats, then chat.id, right? So back here, I'm gonna come here and use template literal. It's gonna be chats, then what's it called again? Chats dot id. So this should work. Let's see the browser. Perfect. And so now we've got, right now you can see we've got the title here, but something is happening now. I don't like this. It has, what's it called? It has this. Let me see if I can make this bigger. it has this quotes here, this single quotes. What was it? That double quote. I don't want the double quote there, so let's remove that. So right now, you check closely now. We have this. You can see we have this. What was it called? That's double quote there. I don't need the we don't need the double quotes around the title. We don't need it. So back to our code. So I'm gonna say if over here. I'm gonna say if chat.title the first value if chat.title is 0, if the first value is equal to if it is equal to if it's equal to a single quote, so a single quote like this, or if chat ID 0 is equal to, let me say we have a single quote. This is if let's say we have the, what was it called, the double quotes. If it is equal to this, for example, we are checking for the single quote first, and then we're checking for the second quote. So if their first characters are equal to this, I want to simply remove the first and the last character. So I'm going to say chat. I'm going to say chat.title dot slice. I'm going to say first and last. It's going to be the 1 and the -1. Right? Else, we're going to have simply chat.title. Let me save this. Yeah, I hope this works to the browser. Cool. Nice. We've removed that. The what was it called? The I'm trying to remember the name. The quotation, the double quote is gone. So that's perfect now. So we've gotten our recent chat. So we only have one chat for today. I could come over here. Okay, don't worry, we'll be back. Let's go get the yesterday's chat quickly. So we'll do the same thing we did here. The same thing. So right now, I'm gonna call this 7 days chat. Let me just say, let me call this yesterday's chat. I don't think we have any chats from yesterday. Right, we don't have any chats from yesterday. I'm gonna say yesterday's chats. Yesterday's chats. I'll call this set yesterday's chat. Set yesterday's. Sorry, it's meant to be small d. A small d. It doesn't matter, but let's just float. Let's do it the right way. Yesterday's chats. So we're gonna have, yeah, this is how it's gonna be. This is how it's meant to be. So I'm gonna just copy this again and then do the same thing for yesterday's chats, right? So I call this yesterday's data. Yesterday's data. I'm gonna say use query. It's no point down to yesterday's. Let's call it yesterday's charts. The query key, yesterday's charts. We're gonna call the yesterday's function, which is this. Get yesterday's charts. Copy and back to the sidebar. Paste that here. And I'm going to have another use effects just for yesterday's charts. So let's import this guy, control and period. Control and period. Yeah, import it. So I'm going to say if yesterday's data, I want to simply update yesterday's charts with yesterday's data, right? And we'll replace these two. Good, right? So over to the top, I'm going to simply have to remove this. So back here, this has to be similar to what we did here. I could just copy this entire span. Copy just below the messages. Paste that here. Oh, I've made a mistake. Let's copy again. this, I think, yeah, this span, copy it just below, just here, where you, and this you, okay, over here we have to add, it's called I, you have to simply add, give it a type, which is called iChat, right? So this has to point, let me copy the URL, has to be the same as this. Let me copy this and I'll replace this, and I hope everything should work. I'm sure we don't have yesterday's chats. I might be wrong. So the browser, I'm gonna see nothing there. We only saw yesterday, but it's okay because we don't have yesterday's chats. I'm sure we have chats from previous 7 days, but not yesterday. So I'm gonna just remove this label yesterday. If there are no chat, let's remove the label. It's called yesterday, right? So I will just simply, where's the group? I'll simply display the group only if, I'll simply come over here and just say if yesterday's chats, let me just say yesterday's chats, if yesterday's chats dot length is equal to 0, simply ignore, right? This should do it. This should do the trick. I'm going to do the same thing for recent chats too, which is this. So I'll say if the recent chat's length is equal to 0, I'm going to also ignore it. I'm going to say recent, if recent chats dot length is equal to 0, simply ignore, right? So the same thing. So now that's our code now. Cool. So we only have recent chat. There are no yesterday's chats. Cool. Now, so nice. So I'm gonna do the same thing for the last 7 days. Let's see what it looks like. Last 7 days. Just copy this again. I'm sure we have chats from last 7 days. I'm gonna say 7 days chats. 7 days chats. And I'll say set 7 days chats. Set 7 days chats. So do the same thing. We copy this. I'll call it 7 days data. 7 days data. Right, it's going to be called 7 days chats here too. 7 days chats. Now call get 7 days chats. Yep. Right, so you're going to have another use effect for it. So I'll say if 7 days data, I'm going to simply update 7 days chats. Ouch, what have I done? I'm going to simply update 7 days chats, and here is what it's called. It's called set 7 days chats. Hope it's not getting confusing. To 7 days data. And then I have to put 7 days data over here. Yeah, so that's what we have to do. And we'll go down to the 7 days region. Okay, I'll copy this span also. So I'm going to paste that on. I'm going to replace the span we have here. Then I'm also going to copy this 2. I'll paste that here. I'm not making any mistake. Okay. I'll paste that I'll paste that here. So I think I have to go over to the top and then comment this guy out. And then we have to use 7 days charts instead. 7 days charts at this point. Right, and I have to give this a type. It's of type iCharts. I hope everything should be fine. Okay, so as for the group, as for the sidebar group, I have to make sure the sidebar group only display if there are any chart available. So I'm going to come over here and say 7 days charts. 7 days charts dots length. If the length is greater, if its length is equal to 0, I'm going to simply ignore the sidebar. So this is how it's being done. It ignores the sidebar. And we are good to go, right? Let's see what we have on the browser. Cool. You can see we have some charts in the last 7 days, right? It's awesome, right? And then due to what we have here, due to this link, this link is pointing down to charts, then the chart ID. So if I click on any of this, if I click on starting, if I click on, let's say, greatest footballer of all time, click on it, you can see it changes. And right now we have information concerning the greatest footballer of all time. If I click on startup idea brainstorming, you can see it changes and then we get what we need, right? If I click on top 20 programming languages, you can see what it gives me. Right, you can see it's working. It's working, right? But there is something we need to do. I have to add and I've tried an indicator that tells you which of this I am currently on. We have to add like an active style on the active link. Let's work on that next. So right now to add that active class, whereby if I click on any of these, we're going to have the background colored like the way it is now. So let's add that feature right away. So back here, we're going to be using the nav link now, no longer we're going to be using the nav link and not the link component from React. So now we are going to bring this button inside and the link is going to go outside, right? So that's how it's meant to be. Let me just control X. It has to come inside and the links comes in. So we have to replace link. We have to replace, I hope I'm not making any mistake. It's as though I broke something. Control X, paste it here. Okay, this closed. That was a problem. So now remove as child. Don't need as child here. So now, yeah. So this style we have here, this class name has to come down. Just Control X. I really hope this works. Control X, and we have to paste the class name here. Right? So we have to change nav. We have to switch from link to nav link. I'm going to use nav link instead from React to Outer DOM. So I think I already imported it on top. Yeah, you can see it here, nav link. So where we are. So we are here. So now over here, I'm going to just do this now. I'm going to say it's active. I'm going to say it's active. If it's active, then I'm going to get this is active prop from navlink. That's where it's coming from. So we have to put in the sidebar button. Just copy it. And that's to fall inside here. Right, has to fall inside here. Good. So it's now here. So now it's time for us to use this is active class right away. So I'm gonna say if active, I'm gonna come over here. This is the button, right? So right now what I need is so we are gonna have what I need is this. What I need outside. Okay, I'm gonna come over here now. I think I'm forgetting how this is done. I'll wrap this in a no, I think it's so wrap this in a curly braces the class name, right? And then we are gonna use CN. CN comes from Shadcn. It helps us add CSS styling dynamically in instance. So we have to import CN, click on it and hold down control and period. So it comes from Shadcn. Here's the imports. So right now I want to simply change this value. I want to simply dynamically add this value. Right? Let me just cut it out. So over here, I'll come here and say if it's active is true. If it's active is true, I want to simply give the background a BG, a background of muted. That's the background color. Else, if it's active is not true, you can add the over effects. Right? So this is what I want to do here. And I hope this works. If it doesn't work, ouch, it'd be a waste of my time. So first of all, we have the nav link brought out. We have the button brought inside. And then we have to simply dynamically add this class. This BG muted if it's active is true. And if it's active is not true, we simply apply the over effect. You understand? So how do you know if active is true? That's when you are on that's where you are pointing to this link up here. To this link. So that's when we know if it's active is true or not. So now I really hope this does work. So let's try and see if it works. The browser. You can see it's worked now. Currently, we are currently on improving as a developer. If I click on startup business idea, startup idea brainstorming rather, you can see it's now active, right? So that's good. So right now I have to do what? I have to add the cursor pointer to the I have to add the cursor pointer. Let's add that here. Cursor pointer. Yeah, you cursor pointer. Yep. So that cursor effect, that pointer effect. Let's see. Okay, perfect. So I think it's working. So let's add the same effect to the recent chart. It's not there yet. I just hope we can copy this, the nav link. Copy it, Control C, and then to the recent chart, and you have to also add it there. Yeah, your recent chart. So I think I'll just replace the sidebar button with the nav link you copied. It should work here too. Right, so let's see. Cool, you can see it's working there. If I click back here, it's brought down here. So we're going to add the same thing to yesterday's chart, because today's chart is going to become we have to add the same effect to yesterday's chart, because today's chart will become yesterday's chart by tomorrow. You get? So now let's add the effect. So here's yesterday's chart, should be here. Here's the button. Yeah, so you have to replace the button with this, paste it there. Ouch, should be Control V. Okay, that's good now. So we've gotten that now. That's perfect. So I'm going to, okay, right now, let's work on this new chat button. Let's work on that. So the new chat button, it's above. Yeah, so I have to give it a cursor pointer. Cursor pointer. Cool. So that's it now. So it has to point down to, so it has to redirect us somewhere, right? So right now, I think I can just give this. Okay, let me just add the link. Let me wrap this in a link tag in React. Let's add that in the link. Let's just put this Control X inside here. I'm gonna say it's gonna point down to it should be equal to, let's say, chats. Let me see let's see what the URL, let's see what we have here. Should be equal to let's go down to chat slash this is also fine. Let's go down to, let's add a new route. Let me just copy this. Should be called chat slash new. Right, slash new. Let me just confirm my own page to be sure what I did down here. Let me see. Yeah, chat slash new. So it should be called chat slash new. So back to the sidebar. So I'm going to point down to chat slash new. So I'm going to give this as child. That's because I want the button. That's because I want this link to inherit the properties of the button, right? So right now that's what I need. That's what I want. So we've got that there, and I hope it works. The browser, my PC is down, so that should be it. So let's click on the new button. If I click on new, we are meant to make sure that this returns back to normal. Returns back to an empty messages, but it's still there. So let's work on that now. So now we've done this, right? So what we're going to do next, so we're going to come back to the home page. I'm going to add a new use effect, right? So right now, let's do that right away. So I think I can add that here, or whichever place is fine. Let's just add it under this bottom ref. Let's say use effects. So just follow me. Ouch, probably making a mistake. Okay. So right now, I'm going to say if location, let me just copy this. If location.path name is equal to the home, if it is equal to the home page, understand, or it's equal to chat slash new. If any of this is true, let me just copy this. Paste that here. If any of this is true, I want to simply set message. I'm going to say, I'm going to call this, I'm going to return, I'm going to call this back. Set message, I'm going to say set messages should be equal to this value, right? So copy this, right? Set messages should be equal to the default value it has always been, right? The default value, right? And I'll also want to set the chat ID. I'm going to say set chat ID back to an empty string. Instance, I hope this should work. Chat ID is an empty string by default. It's going to be set back to an empty string. What are these red lines? Okay, we don't need this. Can remove them. And I have to pass location.path name as a dependency to the array. So whenever location.path name changes, this code here gets triggered. It gets called again. So paste that here. And I hope this should work. To the browser. Right, so let's see, this should work. Back here, if I click on the recent charts, go improving, click on another link. So right now, click on new charts. Perfect. So this is what it's meant to be. I could just say let me just say roadmap to learning. What is roadmap to learning React? Roadmap to learning React. Ouch, there was an error. Good, we are seeing this. Console.log. It says, okay, this is my fault here. No route matched location. So I had the error when I clicked on when I hit enter. That's when I had the error. So I think it should be back here. So this is this and this is the but this is the function that gets called when you click on enter when you try prompting the AI. So let me add a forward slash here. That's important. So it says that's that could be one of the problems. Right, so let's try again. Could just come back to the let's go back to the home page. Come on. Let's try. Okay, let me just click on one of these. Click on this. Back here. So click on new charts. Let's try again. I said roadmap to learning React. Hit enter. Ouch, the arrow stick. Another error came back. Through a. Let me check what this error message says. It says chat ID was not provided. Okay, I think over here I shouldn't have done this. Yeah, that's not needed. That was a problem. So let's try again. Okay, click here, try something else again. Back here, click back here. Roadmap to learning React. Okay, I think it's gonna work now. Okay, give us the error. It has given us what we need. Giving us the roadmap. If we watch closer now, this is gonna get updated. We're gonna have this updated. We're meant to have two new charts now. It's gonna come, but it's gonna come there. Okay, it works. It works. But I'm still expecting this to run. I'm expecting a second, what's the word? I'm expecting a second chart here, but it's not displaying. I've not made a mistake somewhere. It's meant to display again. Or maybe let's try and leave the browser. Let's come back here. Okay, let's go back to the browser. Go back there again. Let's see. Cool. It showed now. Yeah. You can see it. I didn't refresh the page. That was React query for you. So I had to leave the browser and come back and give me what I wanted. So we have this now, roadmap to learning React. Click here. We have a different stuff. I think let's try another chat now. Could just say, how do I learn Django? How do I learn Django? So click on send. Cool, right? Give us some tips on how to learn Django. We just ask it, give me a Django code snippet. Give me a Django code snippet. Let's see what it's gonna give us. Cool. So it gave us some Django code snippets, right? This is amazing, right? Right. So that's good. Yep. So that's fine. If I leave this page and come back to it, we are gonna have another. We're gonna have the third chart for the day. Go back there. Cool. Right. So that's it. It works fine. It works perfectly, right? So right now I have to also change this title. I want to use a much more descriptive title. And there's a website called, let me just search, let me just say. So right now I found the URL. I had to search for add emoji to title. I had to search for add emoji to title tab in React. And this is the website I used to use. How to use an emoji as a favicon easily. So click on this. So yeah, so here is the link you need to use. right? I'll just copy this link, copy it back to our code. That should be in the, I think, index.html file. Here it is. So right now I'm going to replace this link we have here, right? I'm going to replace this. Let me just comment it out, and I'm going to come over here, and I'll call this, let me call this a robot. No, let me just say window dots. Let me add an emoji for my PC. Could just search for robots. Yeah, this is fine. I'll call this promptify. Promptify. I hope this. So we are going to have, so that default title is gonna get replaced. This should get replaced. So you can see now, perfect. So it has, right now we don't have that we don't have the old title we usually have, the default React title. So right now we have a working application. It's similar to ChatGPT, but it is not ChatGPT. It's similar. It is an AI powered system. So in the next, I'm going to make a part two series of this video where we are going to include authentication, whereby you can get logged in. You can get logged in and you can see your own chats. Because currently this is not tied to a user. It is just there. It's not tied to a user. So in the next episode, I'm going to make a separate video on how we can add authentication. We're going to use JWT authentication in the next episode. So do well, if you like the video, subscribe to the channel, like the video. You can also share it. You can also help share it with your friends. But don't forget to subscribe, like. You can also drop a comment for me. Tell me what you think about the application. Tell me what you think I need to add to it. I'd love to get your ideas in the comment section. So I think we are done with our AI powered AI powered assistant. So it is called Promptify. So you can come over here, ask it whatever you want to ask. It's gonna give you an answer. So thank you for watching. We'll see you again in the next episode. Bye bye.